My friend says caffeine's a drug. I said, oh, tell your friend.
I don't want to be your buddy, Rick. I just want a little breakfast.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Punx, a podcast about weird shit, DIY punk and trashy movies, brought to you by Sham City Roasters and Deadbeat Donuts. From Hastings, I'm Dave.
And I'm Siobhan, and this is episode 26, which is our Christmas potluck episode, and we're going to be reviewing the film Santa with Muscles from 1996.
The Christmas party.
The Christmas
Breakfast
party!
Punch.
Whoop whoop!
But first of all, we're going to be starting off with a very appropriate band because...
Oh dear, we're gonna be them people.
So, this is a song by the band Christmas.
Yay!
They're from Germany. It's from their album Hot Nights in St. Vandal, which came out on TNS last year. We've talked about Christmas on the podcast before because they played What's It Called Fest.
Yeah, they're
and
fucking
we've
brilliant.
played Max Motherfucker's solo stuff.
Yeah.
But this album is fucking brilliant,
Yeah.
and you should all check it out. And this song is called Go Hard or Go Home.
Whoop whoop.
Everyone, and the highlights of the news this Thursday.
Breaking news is part of this job.
You are fake news. This is what's happening in your world tonight.
It's fucking news.
So, even though
Sorry.
we're still just going to do some normal news stories
Are you
for
gonna?
you.
Is that coming out a lot this podcast episode?
It took me ages to sample.
I know, but the way that you're just like very casually pressing that button makes me feel like it's coming out a lot.
We'll see. I'll probably forget about it in a bit. So my first news story is... oh! Oh, what happened on its own?
Do you want to rethink that? You might be pressing it about. I think you should.
No,
remove that.
to be
so
honest,
you don't
I think
touch it again.
I think it's over because I think what's happened is it's moved on to the next Christmas. So I don't think I'm actually able to do it again,
That's
even
fine.
though I'd planned it.
I think it can be out.
Planned it a
I
lot.
think it can be out.
Well, did you hear about the bomb squad getting called after a man lodged a World War II anti-tank round in his rectum?
No.
The phrase
In
shell...
his bumhole.
Oh, gosh. We've been...
Sorry, that's a Snetterton joke for those from Norfolk.
We've been drinking, ladies and gentlemen, and I think Siobhan's somewhat more drunk than I am.
Nah.
The phrase shell-shocked took on a new meaning last week when a man in Gloucester managed to lodge a 2-inch wide World War II anti-tank shell inside his rectum.
Why?
The rectum's owner, who understandably chose to remain anonymous, told medical staff at Gloucestershire Royal Hospital that the 57mm round, part of his World War II memorabilia collection,
They just fancied
became embedded inside his anus after he slipped and fell.
Absolute bullshit. Oh my god.
But the best thing about this story
Sorry, I've
is the
fallen
fact...
over many times. Nothing's ever up the bum.
The best thing about this story is the fact that because it was a bomb of any sort, the explosive ordnance disposal squad had to be called. So this man, who's clearly a nerdy war man, got a bomb in his bottom.
Bomb in his bum.
And not only did he just have to go to A&E and embarrassingly talk to a nurse and say, I've got this bomb in my bottom, can you take it out? The entire fucking bomb squad had to turn up at his house just in case it blew up.
What, at the hospital when they removed it? Because I'm imagining they're not allowed to touch
the
it.
hospital, not his house. Yeah, you're right. It was to ensure that the munition was not in danger of detonating.
So, like, imagine being in A&E, and because I've got a friend who works in surgery, and she removes things from people's bums all the time, and they have to like remove it and place it under the person's pillow, no questions asked, and give it back to them, unless it's a rotting fruit, which it often is. But I imagine like just thinking, just removing something from someone's bum as normal, and then it's an item where, sorry, you're not allowed to touch that because the building might explode if you touch it. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was going to because it was a World War II thing, but I suppose it's just one of those things where you have to call the bomb squad if there's a bomb.
You never know.
But I mean, look, we on Breakfast Punx are very sex positive.
Yeah.
You want to put a bomb in your bum, go at it. Like, if you enjoy things in your bottom, then put things in your bottom. But maybe a World War II bomb. I mean, it must have been a bit rusty.
Also, own it. You didn't slip and fall.
Well, yeah, that as well.
Just own it.
Just
it's
say,
fine.
I mean, it is. This story I found in Military Times.
You're frequently reading Military Times.
I'm not. But I suppose if you are someone who has a large World War II memorabilia collection, you're probably not someone who's comfortable with their own sexuality. Particularly if that involves anything other than the most vanilla lay-down sex.
Oh yeah, nothing
imagine.
in the bum. Nothing in the bum if you've been in the war.
But it does seem... I don't know how... Again, fine if he wants to put things up his bum. I'm not questioning that. But I don't know how you can slip and fall and get a 2-inch wide anti-tank shell.
I love that he's sticking by it. I'm not going to put my name to this, and I am sticking by it that I slipped and fell on that thing. And where the Vaseline came from, I do not know.
God bless him. But I hope it didn't go and dry.
Oh, crusty bomb in the bum.
Sadly, it is an everyday occurrence in A&E, but I've never heard of the bomb squad being called out before, said one nurse. Also of note, anti-tank anal clogging, or ATAC, is a remarkably similar sensation, nutritionists say, to that experienced by service members who surpass 2 consecutive weeks of MRE consumption. I don't understand what that paragraph means, but that is what the Military Times has decided to finish this article with.
Sorry, and I like that just also insinuates that this might be normal practice, and we think it's strange, but this might just be going on.
Why have they asked a nutritionist?
Because they study things that people pass. So maybe it's like... there's some poos that are a bit like a World War II bomb. This is nothing unusual, except I didn't understand a word of what they actually said.
I would have called a nutritionist if the bomb had gone into the mouth. I didn't know it was a bottom thing.
Oh, I don't know. What's that? There's a woman that encourages everyone to poo onto a little plate and you have a look at it. What's her name?
Did she become famous?
Yeah.
Or is she a sort of relatively elderly Scottish woman that's really unwell?
She wants everyone to have those toilets where you have a little a shelf and you poo on it, and you have a little look at your poo every day, and you decide whether you're healthy. Someone McKeith, I don't know.
She became really famous for a while. She was like a sort of housewife's favourite type of human.
And everyone's meant to look in their poo, and I have friends that definitely have told me that they look in their poo every day. Well, I don't, but I should probably.
Well, if there was a bomb in it, then yeah, you
if there was a bomb
should.
in my poo, I'd be worried. Be very worried. Call the bomb squad out, and they'd be like, "That's fine. This happens every day. Did you slip and fall?
You slipped and fell.
He must have slipped and fell. Wink, wink." Well, man is kicked off of flight for wearing women's underwear as a face mask. Adam Jen was ordered to disembark the United Airlines flight following his stunt, which he suggests illustrates the absurdity of having to wear a face covering on a plane until it reaches cruising altitude. Now, I can't decide if he's actually making a good point or not. What I think he's saying is, you make me wear a mask until the point at which I'm allowed to walk around, and then when I'm allowed to walk around, you don't make me wear my mask anymore.
Is that true, though? I thought everyone had to wear masks at all times.
I don't know, because I think, because you eat your meal, You do all that kind of stuff. So it's two ways. I can't decide if this man is an anti-mask wearing bastard or if he's actually trying to make a point of we either wear a mask the whole time or we don't. Because what it says...
I mean, either way, he's an anti-mask wearing bastard, isn't he? In as much as, like, even if the rules aren't perfect, he's still a cock, isn't he?
I mean, he's definitely a cock, and I'll get to more of it. He said, "There's nothing more absurd than having to wear a mask until I get to cruising altitude so that I can then order Tito's by the double and snack on pretzels, illustrating that absurdity by wearing women's underwear on my face sounds perfect." I think he's a bit of a fool. He decided upon a thong...
Well, that doesn't even do the job of a mask.
No, because the only condition was that it had to cover your nose and mouth, and the little bit of...
So he had like a T-bone around his...
He had a tiny bit of underwear over his nose and mouth, so technically, according to the rules, he was fine. But they asked him to leave, and then other people left in solidarity with him, and they're the knobs. They're the obvious knobs. Because they're like, well... Did he just get kicked off for wearing a mask? I'm out of here. Forget about it. I'm out of here. Yeah. He said he's been banned from all United Airlines flights and that he's been removed from a Delta Airlines flight previously for doing the same thing.
Oh, my God.
So he's obviously a cock.
Well, I mean, the thing is, when it gets to that point, he's not really making any point, is he?
No.
Like, nothing's going to change as a result of this. So he's just desperately... He's obviously grumpy about wearing a mask. And he's just trying to get as much attention as he possibly can get.
It's a shame. Because when I first read it, I was like, this is obviously stupid. And then when I read it again, I was like, well, actually, is he making a point? Because I've not been on a plane since all this bullshit started. And I think what he was trying to say, which is kind of a similar rule to... You know, we have the restaurant rule of, you know, you wear a mask when you're walking around, but when you're sat at the table, you don't have to wear your mask.
But isn't that just a pure practicality? You can't eat food and...
Yeah,
like,
well, so what he's saying is when they get to the proper altitude where you're allowed to go to the toilet and you're allowed to go and order your food, they come around and bring you food, so you take your masks off and you're eating and you're drinking. And what he's saying is, I haven't moved, I've sat in my seat the entire time, next to people I don't know.
But I suppose the point being...
And now I'm allowed to take my mask off because miraculously at 35,000 feet...
No, but that isn't
when
the
you
case,
want to sell
it?
me pretzels, I'm okay.
Yeah, it's just a practical thing, but you could also argue that if you go on like a 12-hour flight, you have to be able to eat and drink.
Yeah.
On that flight. Even if they're not... I agree, obviously the airlines are probably trying to make money.
Yeah.
But that's not actually really the argument here. People need to eat if they're on a long flight. Or even if they're potentially, even if they're on quite a short flight. And there isn't really an argument.
No.
So he's either saying, as a result of that, we should never wear a mask on this flight.
Yeah.
Which is just a bit dumb. Because it's like, yeah, all right, fair enough. Maybe it is a bit stupid if you all sit down for like half the flight with masks on and half of it without, let's say. But does it fucking matter?
And it's better than not wearing it at all.
Is it such an indignity to have to consider the 150 other people on your flight just because you've decided it's a silly idea that you only wear your mask for a little while?
Well, Adam Jens, you are a penis trying to be funny. I mean, that's why he's done it. He's done it obviously so that people can be like, at some point I will be viral for this. Like, someone's going to catch me and
we keep falling into this.
I know. Now we've fed it. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't think it makes much difference to him if he's featured on this podcast.
I don't think we've like added to his like public profile by featuring it on Breakfast Punx podcast. But if you're listening, you're a cock.
Well, weirdly, I've also got a plane story.
Oh.
And I don't know if anyone was wearing a mask or not in this. There's a woman who was caught breastfeeding her hairless cat on a flight. A woman who took a Delta flight recently wasn't kidding around when she whipped out her breasts and started feeding her hairless cat.
Oh my Lord.
The unidentified female flew from Syracuse, New York to Atlanta, where she was caught breastfeeding her feline on the plane. A flight attendant told her repeatedly to stop and put her cat back in its cage. However, the woman refused.
I have horrible amounts of questions about this.
I doubt I'll be able to answer.
No, I've just never imagined that a human would want to breastfeed a cat. But then I think about it, and maybe they've got a weird connection. Maybe they've done this since she was young.
Why?
Think she's the cat's mother. I mean, she's obviously meant, because they suckle on their cat's mum's tits.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm trying to make excuses for this woman.
I mean, I suppose there's some practical questions about the fact that...
Well, why are they stopping her? It's about
That
putting the
is-
cat in the... No,
That is not what it's about.
no, because it's not public indecency or anything, because you're an old fart if you think that. But I guess the cat has to stay in the cage.
I think you've got a bit confused by the fact. Of course, breastfeeding in public is fine
Yeah.
because a baby might need. It's a similar argument to this
Why is
mask on
the
a flight.
airline even taking an interest?
Because I suppose you could argue that if someone just got their boobs out on a flight, they would probably ask them to put them away. And is this any different? Because the cat should not be breastfeeding a woman, and certainly doesn't need to be breastfeeding a woman.
How old's the cat?
Why is that important?
I don't know. I've just decided that might be a factor that's involved. No?
I mean, I think the cat looked a bit like a baby because it was hairless, and she'd wrapped it up in swaddling so that it looked like a baby. So I think initially people just thought it was a woman breastfeeding on a flight.
That's fucked up.
Then they realised it was a cat.
A hairless cat.
A
It's
hairless
swaddling.
cat.
Oh, this is giving me the horrible
Well, you were
feelings.
making excuses
No,
for
I
it
know,
literally
and
just
now
about 2 minutes ago.
I was I got myself in the head of the crazy woman from Atlanta that might have been doing this, and now I feel a bit like I can't defend her at all. This is horrible.
I think there's you've got, I don't know, at some point you've got to say there's certain things, again, it's similar to the mask thing.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are necessary that you need to do. Breastfeeding is unquestionably one of them.
But not a cat.
A cat should not be breastfed by a woman. I mean, as a vegan, you should surely understand.
It's giving the back to the animals. It's a beautiful thing. No,
I
do
feel
a
like
bit
this is
uncomfortable
one of
about
the
it now.
most
painful as well. Sorry, cat's little teeth.
But yes, and claws, and also
and they do
is
that
the woman
pouring
producing milk? And why is she producing milk? And why is she giving that milk to a cat? Why is there a child not with her on this plane?
That's true. If she's producing milk, shouldn't there be a child receiving that milk?
I think so, but I suppose my point being, I think this is one of the strangest news stories I've ever seen.
very
But
odd.
your natural reaction was to basically say, "Well, what, does she just have a really special relationship with this cat?" I mean, we all love our cats, but I don't think that's quite the
Clotworthy
point.
would never. She's not getting any. No, it does feel a bit weird. The more I think about it.
But you shouldn't have had to think about it this long for it to have sounded
I
weird.
know, I just leapt to her defence and I don't know what that says. And I don't want to unpack that right now.
I think this went out across some sort of public radio system, which people can listen to almost. Not people can listen to, but I think nerds with
They're
can
people
listen
still.
to plane announcements.
Oh.
And so someone just out of context heard that passenger in seat 13A is breastfeeding a cat and will not put her cat back in its carrier when flight attendant requested.
What, and they thought, we'll shame her by telling everyone on the plane.
I guess it went on Reddit, so yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Nice. This poor woman. I still feel sorry for the woman somewhat. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. I'm not breastfeeding cats. It's weird.
I mean, there's a picture of a hairless cat here and he's very handsome.
Aww.
But I still wouldn't want my tit in his mouth.
Well, from a food source of sorts to a different food source of sorts, an £850 pot brownie brings new meaning to getting baked. That is a big marijuana brownie has broken the world records for brownies, I guess. And it has 20,000 milligrams of THC in it. It is 3 feet wide, 3 feet long, and 15 inches high. And it was created somewhere in Massachusetts.
They must have had a big oven.
Well, it's a slab. It is an absolute slab. I have no idea how they have actually made it. It has an awful lot of food in it. It has 1,344 eggs, 250 pounds of sugar, 212 pounds of butter, 81 pounds of flour, 122 pounds of cocoa powder, and loads of THC. 20,000 milligrams. Which actually means that you only get a tiny bit per brownie, and I think medically you're allowed to have quite a lot of THC a day, so I think even if you ate the whole thing, it's not that bad. But I'm not really sure why they did it. They
Is it
haven't
one
really
a record? Is it
well,
one of these fucking
so
pointless...
the Guinness Book of World Records is refusing to acknowledge it because the current largest brownie in the world, marijuana excluded, is £243. So this is officially the largest brownie to have ever been baked. But they are not considering this application because they no longer accept applications or new record titles that are related to the consumption, preparation, or use of tobacco, cannabis, or nicotine products.
And that's weird because cannabis has just been made legal in so many places.
Exactly. But they're not holding it. So it's the biggest brownie that's ever been made, and it happens to be a marijuana brownie. But, you know, Guinness World Records refuses to acknowledge it. However, I did read, and one of my other stories was going to be, that a man who holds 200 other Guinness World Records won a world record today, or recently, for the furthest he's pushed a balloon along with his face. Or, like, how long in time that he's been able to push a balloon.
Do you happen to remember how long that was?
4.9 seconds.
What? Is that it?
It's not even that long.
Yeah,
I think I could do longer than
because
that.
balloons move weird. don't
Yeah. So he pushed it along with... But sorry,
they?
Guinness World...
4.9 seconds. That's
shit, innit?
really short.
But it's also a really fucking weird act that... The reason people get these records in the book is because they're like, here's a thing that no one's ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this has been done. I feel very sad for these people that made this fucking massive brownie.
In fairness.
That don't get to, like, have it counted.
In fairness, if they had just shut the fuck up and not put THC in it and just smoked a joint while they made it,
Yeah.
and not tried to be like, oh, this is a weed brownie, guys. It's so
weed
cool.
brownie.
Just make a big fucking brownie, and you could be in a pointless book that says that you've made the biggest brownie.
Exactly. It's not even
Maybe
that...
they didn't want to be.
They just thought they would be cool. Well... We've given them a shout out. So if all that they got out of this was Breakfast Punx acknowledgement, then I'm sure they're well chuffed.
Well, I'll tell you who isn't chuffed. Mm-hmm. The 40 camels who have been banned from a beauty pageant after it emerged that they received Botox injections and facelifts.
And this is my favourite story of the last 2 weeks.
So, Saudi Arabia has declared war on cosmetically enhanced camels at the King Abdulaziz's Camel Festival. Saudi authorities also ejected breeders who used muscle-boosting hormones and inflated camel body parts, which I presume could only be their humps.
It's
They're inflating them with water.
Fucking horrible.
The pageant's organisers said they will impose strict penalties on manipulators. And camels compete in this camel beauty contest each year to win $66 million prize pot and the title of Miss Camel. Which I think is very gender specific, to be honest. So they're not any handsome male camels?
Well, I think camels, because they have those lovely big eyelashes, so I think they're very cartoony female.
Well, they are if they've had a
in their looks.
facelift and some
But-
Botox injections.
That's fucking harsh, isn't it? It's to give them big pretty lips and big pretty parts. I guess what's the pretty part of a camel?
Probably it's hump.
The
They're
hump
filling.
and-
They're
But it's
enhancing.
their
They're
face.
they're inflating their body parts. I mean, this is clearly not that funny of a story.
Yeah, I mean, it's
although we're going to
animal
laugh
abuse,
about it, it
yeah.
is unbelievably horrible and absurd.
It's disgusting.
But it is pretty fucking funny too.
I love that. Say, for example, because it reminds me of the kind of competitions that is like, oh, you know, the world's biggest aubergine, or like it's not of any importance. This is just like a nice competition. Except
I don't know if it's
turns
a nice,
out,
yeah,
well, you know what I mean. Like, oh
Yeah.
look, here's a dog in a Christmas jumper. Let's all, you know, race them, and it'll be a nice day.
That sounds like horrible abuse.
That's what happens in Herne Hill. I went to a David Bowie dog fashion show once in Herne Hill. It was really bad.
I
I mean,
remember
obviously
you going.
that shows me for what I am. But
Was it like Crofts, but all the dogs were dressed like David
no,
Bowie?
it really was just dogs dressed up at a park, and it wasn't really like Crufts because it was dogs that didn't give a shit and no one cared, and there wasn't anything other than just moving them around.
Had anyone painted that lightning bolt on
No,
any
but
of
some
their
of them
dogs'
had
face?
it like strapped to their head.
Oh,
But they just basically just had glitter on. They look really nice. But I thought a camel beauty contest would be something like that. Imagine like turning up to like your grandma's like apple pie baking competition that she has at the school fete, and then it turns out someone's been like putting LSD in theirs so that everyone thinks that theirs is really good.
what?
I don't know.
But yeah, I suppose. But the thing, I
Or
think
like
the-
going to a sports day, but like everyone is taking supplements.
But the big difference with this is that there's a $66 million prize.
that-
So it's not like your nan baking a cake and getting the sort of, you know, best
She
at
goes to
show.
some really good shows. Gets
Does
loads
your
of
nan
money.
bake a cake and take it to and try and win a?
In fairness, she hates people and has a crowbar, so no.
They're not fucking about. This is like the Olympics
Is
or
that
something.
US dollars? Like fucking tons of money?
Yeah, £50 million.
What the fuck?
Did you not? You've not listened. I've said it about 5 times.
No, but
now you're
sorry,
surprised.
but I thought it might be like, you know, when there's like, oh, here's this weird currency that is 77 million of something, but actually it's about 50 quid.
No.
Sorry, 50 million pounds.
You know Saudi Arabia is very rich, right?
They're so rich. They're like, what do we do with all this money? Why don't we fill camels with Botox and then make them judge against each other?
You've pretty much knocked it on the head, I think. Yeah.
Oh my god, I literally burn this earth to the ground. We don't deserve it.
But it's just, what I'm saying is that this is like a really serious thing. Like all of the other examples that I can think of that are like almost as disgusting as this, things like those like little children beauty pageants and stuff, where like people take it really seriously and they really push their kids and they do weird shit to them and make them look funny.
But
like that is horrible. But even then, they're only going for probably like, even if they're like semi-professional at it, they're probably only making 500 quid or something if they win. Do you know what I mean?
But
this is more money than people win on the national lottery or something.
This is like steroids at the Olympics, sort of.
Yeah, I suppose.
Feel.
Although I don't think the camels have to do anything. It's not like the camels are like leaping over anything. Or
They don't stand up and go, if I could end world hunger. They like do a little speech.
No, camels can't.
Well, they don't have a
talk.
talent competition.
No,
like
camels
normal
can't do
people.
anything.
Well, I don't understand why they get so much money.
I think they just squidge them and find where the muscles are and how big the water pouch is and check their eyes, make sure their eyes are good and their cheeks are all pert. They're just checking. They're checking for all of the things that you would check to find out whether a camel was the most attractive camel, and you should call it Miss Camel for the next year.
Oh, I'm going to call you Miss
It is
Camel for the next year.
Beauty pageant. Well, I suppose I've won then. That's all right. I'll take that.
Here's your 50 million nothings. Well, from Saudi Arabia to Brazil, crossing the countries here, Brazilian politics settle water park dispute in the MMA ring.
What?
When two politicians got tired of debates, their fists started the talking. Politics can be pretty boring. Endless hours of debates, negotiations, meetings and committees. Recently, though, two Brazilian politicians brought some action into politics. They decided to speak soft and punch hard. This is a good article. Oh, okay, this is where I'm going to be really... I don't know. I'm going to try.
Go at it. The Prosecco? The prosthetics. The Prosecco will help, if anything, I'm sure.
Simeo Peixoto...
Pex, so he sounds like a wrestler already.
Yeah.
The
mayor of Borba in north-central Brazil and the town's ex-councillor, Ernio da Silva, have been at each other's throats for a while. To settle their dispute, the two men stepped into an MMA fighting ring. But at the centre of this dispute is a water park in Borba.
What?
The councillor is accusing the mayor of not preserving the attraction appropriately. So the water park has fallen into disarray and the councillor's gone, "Oi, mayor, you don't do enough to look after this water park. You should fucking talk to me about it." And they've decided to call each other out quite often online. Silva, who is not the mayor, he's the ex-councillor. He's also called Miraco, for the purpose of this article, don't know why. It's his nickname. Miraco has not minced his words in calling out Peixoto. He's called him a rotter and a crook, according to the local newspaper.
Well, them's fighting words.
He recently demanded that Peixoto come out and settle the matter with his fists, if he's man enough. And he's an ex-councillor, by the way, so he's obviously just, like, fallen off the wagon and just calling out the mayor. And the mayor should probably, like, back off and not rise to this. No. In an online video, Peixoto said he was more than ready to take Miraco on. "Show your face," he declared. Some of his voters said he shouldn't get into a brawl and should be more diplomatic. And in response, apparently after he'd cooled down, he clarified his intentions. That I'm not a street fighter, I'm mayor of Borba. But if he really wants to fight, I'm ready to fight and I've always been a winner.
Oh my Christ.
And so they did!
So
on December the 12th, they had a match at a local school.
A local school? What, they took it... Did kids watch?
Oh, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's where the nearest ring was. And they're both in shorts and gloves, and hundreds of people came to see them.
Are they elderly men?
Well, they're 39 and 45.
Okay.
So, old enough to know better.
So they couldn't become professionals, but they could probably have a fight.
No.
I mean, this is toxic masculinity at its absolute worst, isn't it?
It is
I mean,
pretty
this
horrendous.
is two people that are superficially in power or something, just deciding to have a fight over a water park.
According to local reports, the mayor, with a towel emblazoned with the word Jesus around his neck, marched twice over to Mirko's corner. Both times he swiped his fingers across his throat.
Oh my
This is the
God.
mayor of the town.
So this isn't like part of a reality TV show or anything. This is actually just
This
real
is
life.
just straight up what they did. The match lasted 3 rounds, and by the end of the 3rd round, the mayor was really messed up. He could barely walk, and it looked like the ex-councillor had won. But they declared the mayor had won. Everyone was angry. And has it solved anything? No one knows.
I mean, no, it hasn't. This reminds me of this time when...
Probably not.
This reminds me of this time when there was I can't remember his name, a European film director who made loads of really terrible horror movies in like the early 2000s. I think his name was Uli something. Is it Uli Lommel?
I don't know.
And he made loads of films based on computer games. He made the House of the Dead film. He made... I can't remember. He had loads of money. He was a bit of a sort of Neil Breen type of character, so that he had more money. But he just made these terrible, terrible movies. And he got a review from someone, from like a horror magazine, like Fangoria or something, that was like basically said this is the worst film ever. And so he said to this guy, come and have a boxing match with me. And the guy thought, this will be good publicity, so we'll just go and have this boxing match and it's fine.
It'll be hilarious.
And they went and had a boxing match, and it turned out that this guy was an ex-professional boxer, and he just beat the living fuck out of him.
That's fucked
And the
up.
other guy was just like a nerdy sort of horror dude who just wrote in a magazine. But yeah, I can't remember that guy's name. We should do one of his films on this podcast, because they'd be totally terrible.
That sounds right up our alley, I'd say.
Well, you know where I could have probably imagined political disputes getting sorted out in the ring?
Yeah?
Yeah? Oh, yeah?
Not really this.
Oh, I
but...
thought you were going to have a story.
No.
Well, let's go to Norfolk.
My oh yeah was more about, Paige, who's in WWE.
Yeah.
Well, she's from Norfolk, isn't she?
Yeah.
And wrestling with my family. We're well wrestling in Norfolk, so I was going to say...
We're wrestling in Norfolk.
Yeah, you fucking heard it. You fucking heard it here, boy, ain't we? We fucking done the wrestling in Norfolk. But this story is not about wrestling.
Okay.
It's from last year, because I'm not going to lie, I went on the EDP website this morning to have a little, gander at what's been going on in the news. And it's all fucking just murders and paedophiles. So I weren't really up for talking about none of them. So I went back to last year to see if there was any festive news.
Last Christmas.
I gave you my heart. Families left disappointed by creepy Christmas grotto in Norfolk. Families have demanded their money back after queuing for hours to get into a drive-through Santa's grotto that left many of them disappointed. Some of the people who turned up to the grotto in the grounds of Taverham Hall near Norwich were feeling anything but Christmassy after their experience. Some kids were made to wait 3 hours in traffic after booking a time slot. Can you fucking imagine that? People were very disgruntled. They took to social media. They were angry. And it was not inexpensive to go to this drive-through Santa's grotto. 3 grumpy children and 4 disappointed adults. We are down £110.
Fucking
Yep.
hell.
Yeah, that's a bit...
Did
They're
you
all
get
a bit...
a present?
A
prize.
Yeah, it's very sad. We wanted the sparkle, the magic of Christmas, but I started laughing because I couldn't comprehend how rubbish it was.
Sounds a bit like the film we watched this week.
The Scrooge guy called us all mutants.
What?
The Scrooge guy called us all mutants and said Santa has crashed his sleigh and the presents are in the mud. And there was a man in chains by a tree just staring at the car. It was creepy, but it's meant to be for little kids. The light tunnel at the end wasn't even switched on, and Santa couldn't be less interested. Another parent said, the gifts were rubbished. They weren't even wrapped, just in brown paper bags, and I reckon they were bought at Poundland.
I mean, this sounds a little bit like it was some sort of a like art installation, and these people just or like it was supposed to. It doesn't sound like it was supposed to be Christmassy at all. It sounds like a Halloween.
It does sound
like
Halloween.
House of Horror thing, and that these people have gone there thinking it's Christmas.
But apparently they've been waiting in like traffic for ages, and they said, sorry, you've paid your 68 quid for your tickets, but you might still have to wait 2 more hours to get in after booking a time slot. And then when you get there, Scrooge's going to call you and your family mutants.
What? Does he put that in context at all? Does he just shout mutants at you and walk off?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Was it drive-through because of COVID? Was that the point?
Maybe. It doesn't really say, because that would have been 2020 in December. It would have been the height of COVID, I guess. I really don't know. But what's quite beautiful is the people who run it just flooded social media with how happy they were that the event went. They were like, everyone enjoying working on Santa's drive-through grotto, so many challenges and rules and regulations, and the team still produce stunning work. Tell that to Marjorie with her 3 kids and get called mutants by Scrooge. I love it. And creepy Santas in chains from a tree staring at them.
But that's the bit. Like, the rest of it could be just disgruntled employees or whatever, or just, like, be a bit shit at doing it. But having somebody chained to a tree, that tells me that wasn't a Christmas event. That was definitely, like, something else. Surely. It's quite Discordian in a way. It must have really fucked with those people's minds.
It must have fucked them up. And to be honest, I'm seeing some pictures and it just looked like people's nice houses dressed up in lights, but in the distance. Like, they're nowhere close to you. It don't make any sense. It don't make any sense. They weren't happy. They should have gone to that... put the Christmas tree, in the Christmas tree wrapping machine that we talked about last week.
They should have.
It'd been far more exciting than this Scrooge telling you're all aliens and telling you fuck off, whatever this Christmas experience was. That sounds great.
It sounds great to me.
I am gutted we missed this. That sounds fucking brilliant. Well, that's enough Norfolk news. Oh, look, my normal voice. Kind of. I don't know. I feel like my normal voice and Norfolk noise is getting ever increasingly similar to each other.
Norfolk noise is right.
Norfolk noise. That's what we'll do. So it's time for a song. This song is from Gay Panic Defence, and the song is called Sick Dave.
I don't know why you picked that one.
Looking at you. I know why you've picked this. They're a band from Scotland, and this song is from the album Party Smasher, which came out last year. So this is Gay Panic Defence with Sick Dave. Welcome back to this festive edition of Breakfast Punx podcast. We're going to move on to our Christmas potluck. Oh my god. This is going to be really cool. Because it's Christmas! This is never getting old. Have you seen that video where it's the Slade song? That one. What's that Slade song called?
It's Christmas.
And it's the whole song, but instead of any of the lyrics, it just goes, "Are you hanging up your stocking on your wall?" And then it's just, "Are you hanging up your stocking on the wall?" For the entire rest of the song.
Someone used a part of their life to make that.
It's good. I
Loads
quite like
of
it.
people have used a part of their life to watch it.
Hanging up your stocking. So anyway, we've had some bevies and we asked everybody over the last couple of weeks to send us in ideas for things to discuss at this point, because we figured we wouldn't have one main subject that we discussed. We would just do weird tidbits and see what people sent us and go from there. And what we've done is we've taken everyone's suggestions and we've literally, old school, written them out on paper, cut them up, folded them up and put them into a little bowl. I don't know if you can hear
That's
that,
the
but that's
sound
all
of
our
the bowl.
suggestions in a little bowl. Oh, I've thrown them on the floor. And we're going to sift through the bowl of suggestions and just go through them one at a time and just have a little discussion, see what comes out.
And it's going to be a bit random. And I think that potentially we've got quite a lot. So I apologise in advance if we run out of time as far as getting through them all. We might just have to miss some because there's loads.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Depends how long we end up talking about all of this weird shit. Also, it's probably worth saying that more or less 50% of them I know and 50% of them Siobhan knows, because we've got them in different ways.
That's
so
true.
some of these will be completely blind to one of us.
But we've got the internet at the ready. We aren't expecting to be clued up on any of these things, so I apologise if we're just buffoons.
As ever.
Which we always are. Woo-hoo.
So we're going to take it in turns to get them.
Yay!
So there we go.
Oh, brilliant. Go, David.
So this first one, we're also going to keep them anonymous, right?
Oh, yeah. Just
So
for
we're
the
keeping
sake
them
of it.
anonymous because we haven't written the names on, so I apologise. Some of them are probably going to be quite obvious, though. So this first one is drunk mums. Siobhan, I think you need to take that one, probably, because my mum is actually a teetotaler. So.
Yeah, your mum drinks like one glass of Pinot a year. Drunk mums?
Although
it's not
I have met drunk mums before.
I've frequented the mums when they're drunk. That sounds awful. Oh, yay. I guess this is definitely from one of Comeback Clip, because we have a song called Drunk Mums, which is about various mothers getting drunk, because we have some wonderful mums, and they do like to get wonderfully drunk. Mostly about my mum. She went to a school fete when she always gets pissed at the school fetes in Blowfield. That's what you do when you're a mum and you live in Blowfield.
Well, she doesn't anymore. She doesn't live in Blowfield.
She lives in Southampton now, but,
Okay.
you know, she's still probably getting all the mulled wine tents drank dry when she goes to the Christmas fairs. But in Blowfield, the school fete was where you went. Like, everyone in the village went, because the village was tiny. And so it didn't matter that it was the primary school village, like the primary school fete. Everyone went. If you were 17 and returning home from uni, you still went to this fete and you got pissed and jumped on the bouncy castle. As did all of the parents, even if their children were at university. And my mum used to go there and get pissed every year. Her and her mates used to drink dry the beer tent. They then created a wine tent, which they drank dry as well. And one year I couldn't find her, and she was getting her face painted as a dog by my friend. I said,
so it wasn't official. It was just someone having a go.
No. My friend was doing the face painting. You know, everyone at these fates. And I said, Megan, are you seen my mum? And she goes, yeah. I just painted her face. She's painted like a Dalmatian, and she's running around somewhere. And I found her hugging my friend's older brother who'd come home from university with all his mates. He said, "Hello, Matthew!" Just absolutely fucking cunted. So we wrote a song about her, and the chorus is about Annie's mum, who drank loads of whiskey on her 21st birthday, fell off a wall, and when she was going home with Annie's dad, he kept slamming her head in the door of the taxi because he didn't realise her head was out.
I was going to say by accident.
By accident.
Might be worth
He kept
making
trying
that
to
clear.
shut the door and was like, why weren't the doors shut? And he looked and she lolled out the side and he was just like absolutely crushing her skull with the door. So that's what I imagine the drunk mums aspect of this is about. I love my mum.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
All mums are brilliant. Drunk or not, doesn't matter if you're drunk or not, but my mum gets drunk quite often and she's fucking brilliant.
I've got a drunk dad, but that's not nearly as fun.
There's almost no joy there. Right, I'm going to pick one. Why has there not been any Martin Appleby news on the podcast recently? Anonymous sender in for that
It could
one.
well be someone who just misses all the Martin Appleby sections. It might not be him. Well, in fairness, I think it's probably because we fucked around with what the news in our podcast.
I know, the news has become nonsense.
It has become nonsense. And in fairness, Martin Appleby has done all sorts of wonderful things.
He's
I
done some
think.
fucking brilliant things recently.
So just in case I hope this isn't the first time you've ever listened to this podcast. It's normally better than this. But I feel like the first maybe like 3 or 4... I think within maybe the
even
first...
longer.
I think maybe within the first 6, 4 of the news stories probably
On
were
Martin
about various things Martin Appleby was doing. He runs a press called Scumbag Press, which is amazing, and you should totally check it out.
Whoop.
He writes poetry, and he's amazing, and you should totally check it out. And he's about to put out a new issue of a zine that he's been doing for absolutely ages called Paper and Ink. Well, I think I say about to do. I think it's a little way away, but he's getting submissions for it at the moment. So he does all sorts of things, and so I feel like when we first started this podcast,
and that was a podcast for a bit as well. So he had a podcast.
Oh, he does a podcast
with his,
as well.
Paper and ink thing as well.
So in fairness to him, I don't think he stopped doing things. I'm talking about him in the third person, like this wasn't him asking.
And like you're not talking directly to him as an apology right now.
But it's not like
Martin was sorry.
It's not like he's stopped doing things. It's just that our news sections have suddenly become about people putting bombs up their bums. and people putting all sorts of things in their bums.
Or injecting camels with things.
Yeah.
Or speaking to UFOs from another country.
So I suppose that's why. I miss it as a section. And in 2022, expect it to come back.
Exactly. Send us your zine. We'll read it out.
I would like
will
to
we
try
read it
and
out?
I'd
No,
like
I'm
to
not
try and
reading it
name
out,
all the
actually.
things he's done since then as a sort of to update everyone with the news, but I definitely won't remember them all. He did release a wonderful split zine by me.
Oh, is that blue and the green one with Cody?
Blue and yellow.
Oh.
Blue and green, you're right.
Yeah, knew it. Prick.
Yes.
Only wrote the poetry and whatnot.
Right, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Discuss the film Gremlins.
This came with a clause that I
did come
remember
with a clause,
reading. And
but
it
I
said,
didn't-
discuss the clause Kremlins.
Gremlins?
Wow,
That's a totally different film.
Discuss the film Gremlins unless you don't like it, because if you don't like it, don't discuss it, because it's my favourite film.
Well, I didn't need to add that proviso because
I
I
know.
knew that we both liked it, so it's
Yeah.
not really a problem.
I know, but who doesn't like Gremlins?
I don't know. That's
Is there
actually a really.
anyone in their world that doesn't like Gremlins?
I think there definitely are. I kind of remember being a kid and people being like weirdly scared of it. Like I'm talking like a really little kid, because it's not really a kid's film, but like we definitely all watched it when we were, 7 or 8 or something.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
So like I think it was a bit like the one in the food processor freaked people out a bit.
On the little punk.
And there's like the evil ones and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's think. What can we discuss about the film The Gremlins? I love Gremlins. I have to say I did see it when I was a really little kid, but then it wasn't one of those films that I maintained watching through my life. So in my teenage years, I don't think I watched it, and I think I sort of almost forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then probably somewhere in my mid-20s or something, I watched it again. It was a bit The Lost Boys. I did the same thing. I didn't watch The Lost Boys for years, and I just thought it was like some kids film that I used to watch. And then I watched it again, and I was just like, whoa, this is fucking perfect. And that's my full review of The Gremlins. It's fucking perfect.
So
It's got Dick Miller in it. He's one of the greatest actors of all time. Joe Dante is the director, who's the guy that directed it. I think has done some of the most wonderful things.
What else has he done?
Inner Space,
I
which
don't
is
know.
amazing. But most importantly, for me anyway, he made a TV show called Erie, Indiana, which
you
is
love that.
probably one of the greatest things that's ever been made, in my opinion. It's wonderful. That's for kids as well, but I still love it.
Aww. So I didn't watch Gremlins until quite late on. I probably only watched it in my early 20s, probably for the first time ever. And it's just too adorable. It's just wonderful. I'm not really into E.T., put it that way, but I'm well into Gremlins. And then the same people. Did Spielberg do both?
Spielberg was involved in Gremlins, but he was like the producer of it or something.
Oh,
he
fair
was
enough.
At that time he was like the only known behind the scenes Hollywood person.
Oh, really?
So he used to put his name on loads of things.
Just to get it out.
And I mean, I think he probably produced Gremlins or something. I'm sure he was involved
Yeah.
in it. It's got a bit of a Spielberg feel to it, but yeah, he got involved in a lot of things.
Fair enough. So yeah, E.T. I watched as a kid, and I've only ever watched it as a kid, and so I can't really pass much comment on it. But I feel like Gremlins is just that same level of cute fun, because those little fucking critters, that little Mogwai, and the way he does his... I've got a little cuddly Mogwai who sings. I went to look at it, but I think he's up there. Yeah, I can see him. He's on top of our shelf, and he's so cute. And
I bought you that Mogwai. That
I
was the first gift I ever bought you,
I
I think.
remember. You got it for Christmas. The first Christmas that we had. I don't have much to say about Gremlins other than it is beautiful, it's really sweet, and the Mogwais are the best thing ever. So
I think it fits the type of film that I love the most as far as big budget Hollywood films, where those 80s movies where reality is kind of just thrown out the window. It's
Yeah.
real enough, but there's no particular emphasis on it staying remotely true to life.
yeah, they have
Like,
houses, they go to school.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that's been lost a little bit, because if you look at big budget Hollywood movies in modern times, although loads of obviously superhero films,
Yeah.
weird shit happens, but the actual lives of the people that aren't the superheroes is all kind of like they try and make it really based in reality, I feel like. And it's like dealing with there's nothing wrong with this, but like dealing with emotional issues and dealing with, whereas I feel like in those films, those things they didn't even try for reality.
Yeah.
They were like fairy tales, but like modern day fairy tales almost.
Yeah.
And not just because of the gremlins. Even if there had been no gremlins in that film. Like The Burbs. The Burbs is Joe Dante.
Yeah.
And although, well, no, nothing really weird happens in The Burbs. It's just about people winding themselves up because they think that everyone else is evildoers or whatever. But it's still, it's nothing like real life. And I think that's what I look for in a film, generally.
Next out the bowl, wrestling.
Just wrestling generally.
That's quite overarching. I like that.
Well, this might be another thing to say. We used to talk about wrestling on this podcast sometimes. I think we used to, like we were doing it forever. But I feel like when we first started, we did talk more about wrestling. We haven't talked about it for a long time.
We haven't talked about it in ages. We probably should.
Well, here's our opportunity.
Here is the opportunity to talk about wrestling.
So we watch AEW, which is kind of like a new promotion.
It's about 2 years old now, isn't it?
Something like that.
If
It
that.
might even be a bit more than that.
A bit more than 2 years old. I think it had its another birthday. I think it's like October sort of time.
Yeah, and we don't watch WWE.
Nope. Boo. Bad. Don't like it anymore.
There you go.
There you go. It's our thoughts.
So AEW, what can we talk about with AEW? What do you think is the best thing that's happened this year?
Oh,
who's
don't.
the best? Who's the because
Who's
loads
the best
of
right now?
so actually maybe we should give a little update in case you don't watch wrestling. Just a couple of things. Like AEW this year has gone from like a relatively like popular and
Very
kind of growing
yeah.
promotion filled with relatively unknown, with a few people that you'd recognise vaguely if you've ever watched wrestling, but mostly quite unknown.
Like they've
people.
got Matt Hardy and they've got John Moxley over the years. So there's like one by one got these like big stars from the indies or used to be on WWE or straight from WWE.
But in the last 3 or 4 months, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Maybe
exactly.
a bit long,
maybe a bit longer than that. They've started really getting loads and loads of like big names, and the biggest one is CM Punk, who, for those people that don't know, CM Punk was like probably the biggest, most popular wrestler or young wrestler in WWE about 8 years ago or something, and he quit at the sort of height of his fame and basically just left wrestling completely. He did a bit of MMA, he did a bit of acting. We talked about his film a couple of episodes ago, and said he'd never come back to wrestling, and then did, as a sort of surprise, a sort of everyone kind of knew it was coming surprise.
I mean, the episode he came back on was the most perfect thing, because people at WWE matches, ever since I started rewatching it, which probably would have been about a month or two after he quit, have been chanting CM Punk in the audience for ages, and usually at a time of defiance against WWE. Like whenever WWE are doing something shit, the audience starts shouting CM Punk as a kind of like fuck you to them, even though they've paid their money and they're there. And then the episode, it was kind of rumoured he was coming into AEW, and then they were heading to Chicago, which is where he's from, and so everyone was like, if he turns up, he's going to turn up here. And within seconds of them opening the show, they just played his music and he walked out, and it was just like, you know what? We've got to get this over with because people are going to shout CM Punk over the entire episode unless we bring him out immediately. And it was just beautiful.
It was an amazing. I think even if you didn't watch wrestling, if you had a vague idea of the story and then watched that, it was a genuinely quite emotional thing, and like it was just done. Yeah, like you say, it was done really well, and like. And so he's come back, and then also Bryan Danielson, who was Daniel Bryan in WWE, and
who owned. I say that he was like the manager of SmackDown, inverted commas. Like,
he
he was huge in
WWE.
In the storyline, like he was made out to be like he was a massive deal in WWE years before his kind of like.
Well, he had a funny story as well, because he was someone who they didn't want to give a championship to, but he was like the most popular person with the fans.
Yeah,
and so there was a WrestleMania whereby. I don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes, but they more or less were trying to like write him out, and they were trying to say, this is your main event. It was like The Rock and John Cena. I think maybe, I'm not sure if it was that year, but it was like two of the people that they wanted to be their big stars. And he was just like chucked in the sort of opening match or something. And the crowd really hated it, and they kept booing and they kept chanting for him. And eventually they changed their mind, and there was a WrestleMania where he wrestled twice, I think, or maybe even 3 times, I'm not sure, in order to get a championship.
Yeah.
And he won in the end. So they worked out that was what the fans wanted. And that was, again, I think, remembered as like this really emotional thing at WrestleMania where everyone went completely mad. So yeah, so he was kind of... Him and CM Punk were very similar in as much as they were like the ones that the crowd really loved, but the ones that the company didn't really want to push, I guess. But yeah, so they're both in it, and along with lots of other people. There's no point in going through them all. And so, I don't know, as a result, I suppose... I don't know exactly whether it's meant that like loads more people are necessarily watching AEW on telly or whatever. I don't really follow that sort of stuff.
I'm not really sure.
But definitely since lockdown, like their stadiums are massive and they're rammed. Yeah. They're always sold out and stuff. So I mean, it's like super popular. But yeah, I think it's been really good. I think that you can tell that it's new. I think some of the stories like don't really go anywhere sometimes, and there are like frustrating things where they do something that just doesn't work sometimes on telly, which is fine, and I kind of like that about it in the first instance. I think because in comparison, WWE is so like clean. It's like watching the wrestling equivalent of McDonald's. Like everything's perfect, everything is right, you know.
Yeah.
And so I really liked AEW being a bit rough around the edges, but now sometimes where they just... Like, for example, with CM Punk, he came back and it was like the biggest thing in the world, and then they've just put him in a load of matches with sort of low-down people, and he hasn't really been that great, but he's been fine, he's been alright, and I sort of feel a little bit like they could have made a bigger deal of him, and he sort of lost his edge a little bit, and...
They're clever in some ways, because the storyline he's in is the person who's calling him out is saying, you've lost your edge. Like, I think they've realised what's happened,
well,
so they're trying to make a story of it. But yeah, no, I appreciate that, like, for the last few weeks, for the last few months, really, he's just kind of been like... Yeah, we get him out, we play the music, everyone in the crowd who hasn't seen him yet goes mad. But now they're going back to some of those stadiums before, and everyone at home is like, we've seen this fucking hundreds of times now. I would say that while the storylines are a bit rubbish still, and they keep doing this thing where, like you mentioned it, they've got too many of them, that they're all in like factions and groups now, so it's all a bit like allegiances are getting formed randomly just to put you in a hole. But the wrestling is still like the best.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
Actual wrestling. I take it for granted because we watched WWE for years, not really watching any proper wrestling. Never a move that you're impressed by, and now like every week, numbers of times a week, because they have so many shows, you're always impressed. Like the wrestling is never rubbish.
I think as well,
like,
it's
so
partly
good.
the moves and stuff. Like they're all really athletic in a way that I don't think I've necessarily ever watched that much. I think it's more like an indie style of wrestling.
Yeah, maybe.
But also the matches themselves are like exciting, and I don't know how. I have no idea about the technical way that anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But they do this thing where sometimes you're watching a match and you're a bit bored and it's been going on for a little while, but at some point somehow it like sucks you in.
Yeah.
And then you're actually bothered about who's going to win, even though you know that it's made up and predetermined and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. It takes you on a bit of a journey, and I feel like that I never got that in.
And they're quite good at making the matches where it's so-and-so against so-and-so, and you're like, well, clearly that guy's going to win because that's the way the storyline's going. But they still make the match good. And WWE used to be like, here's a match for the sake of getting the storyline out, and they put no effort into the match being good. Whereas in this one, so for example, Bryan Danielson was wrestling everyone in this faction called the Dark Order in order to get to the champion, because he had a championship match, and he was going through all these people in the faction to like prove that he was going to beat the main guy. So obviously they couldn't have him lose on the way through, and he had to do like 4 matches. So you knew who was going to win every single one, but everyone was really good.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, you didn't have to do that, and it's good that you did. And all of those people actually got to show themselves for being quite good wrestlers, whereas they would normally have just been the like filler. If they were on WWE, they for sure would have been filler. So yeah, AEW is fucking cool. WWE, they're releasing tons of people very soon, or they've been releasing people for months now. So I don't even know what WWE looks like. I know Seth Rollins is still the person they're pushing, as well as Roman Reigns. Why are they still pushing Roman Reigns?
Well, no, from what I can... Again, we don't watch it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But from what I've been told... Or it's been told. From
what
what
I've been
read,
told by the internet.
From what I've read, I think Roman Reigns is actually really good at doing what he's doing now. I think he's supposed to be like a really good baddie. But we don't know. We don't watch it. It might be really good for all we know, but I'm pretty sure it's not. It is a strange time at the moment, because you're right. I mean, they've released like so many people, and there's a lot of talk as to why that's happening, as to whether they might be like just reducing all of their costs because they're going to sell and all sorts of things. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But
and in a way, we hope that they don't all get bought into AEW, because the nice thing about AEW is it's this indie wrestling company that's built up all these people that are from these tiny little wrestling promotions, or who have been like beaten down by big companies in the past, and built them up and said, look, we actually think you're a really good wrestler, come wrestle. But very recently they have had this influx of like really good people, and definitely no one's been taken on for the sake of it, but they've had a lot of people from WWE recently, and I just hope they don't like rely on all these like big names. I don't think they will, and they haven't yet.
I was going to say, I think the signs are good, because since those people came in, they've given one of their like original sort of indie guys the main title.
Yeah.
Another one the other title.
Yeah.
You know, they're not like
all the titles are with.
They're not. It's not like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson have come in and now they're both the champions. Like, so the signs are pretty good, and like even who they're pushing, who it appears they're pushing to be like the next champion.
Yeah.
Is like MJF.
Yeah.
Probably. You know, I don't know.
And also, women's wise, I think Ruby Soho is probably going to win the women's one. And that will be good, because she got shat on pretty heavily in WWE towards the end.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like if she wins it, that's fine.
She's, as much as I really want to like her, and like
she's not very good.
She's really not very good.
Oh, she's not as good as Britt Baker, who I didn't think I was going to enjoy as much. Yeah. But Britt Baker, I've now turned around. Anyway, for anyone who doesn't enjoy wrestling, this last 10 minutes.
Let's move on. We're definitely going to lose some of these because we're already going too long. But let's go.
We thought we didn't have enough.
All right, so I think we can sort of be quickish with this one.
Yeah.
We've got Veganuary tips.
Don't be a knob. Do your best. I mean, that's just being a vegan generally.
I mean, I think there's. I don't know. I can't remember. We were asked this question a while ago for something, and I feel like our answer was quite good. I feel like veganism in 2021 is easy.
Yeah.
It's not really a big deal, but
just
equally
choose to do it or don't.
Yeah, I think that we still view it in this way where it's like this really big deal.
Yeah.
Like you're really losing out on something if you go vegan, and I think that's one of the really negative aspects that stops people from doing it.
Yeah.
But also the other side of it is if you're a bit vegan, that's fine as well. We have this really black and white idea of like you are either a vegan and you've got the t-shirt, or you're a non-vegan and you're not allowed the t-shirt. And I think that's a load of shit. It's like if everybody, I've always thought this, if everybody was just vegan 5 days a week, or even that, it still makes a big difference, and so that's fine. And I think that I don't necessarily even, I am vegan and I only eat plant-based things, but I wouldn't necessarily even describe myself as a vegan anymore. I feel like it's not really I don't know, it feels a little bit non-inclusive to me nowadays.
It comes with this history of a snooty attitude as well, which I don't agree with and I don't enjoy. And I don't enjoy anyone judging anyone for anyone. Like, vegans hate being judged by meat eaters, but they're also judging it's just this huge kind of like judgment circle that I don't really enjoy. Whereas I kind of feel like if a meat eater went to a restaurant and there was a meat-free option that was pretty good, that would be to their taste, and they tried it and they liked it, and then maybe next time they go there they try that, that's a win. Whereas some people would be, berating people for not eating, like you say, not eating vegan every day of the week all the time. Like, we're in a position where meat replacements and plant-based alternatives are really big at the minute, and they have been for years, like plant-based cheese and plant-based meat alternatives and all of the weird stuff that comes with that. But I think that's probably where the future is kind of heading, and I don't say I think it as if it's new and profound, like that's where it is. Like, we're growing meat in labs now, I think, rather than
I mean, that doesn't sound good either.
No, but we're at a point where there is literally very little reason to cull animals.
Yeah.
And it's about, if people still want to eat that product, and not get it from an animal, then it still exists. But I think that number is declining as well. And it's just,
I don't know
every
if
little helps.
I don't know if anything we've said has been veganuary tips. I suppose the point that maybe we're making is if you decide to do veganuary and on day 14 you really want some cheese and you think, fuck it, I'm going to eat some cheese.
Yeah.
There's no need to then say, right, well, veganuary is over. I'm just not going to do it now I'm just going to eat cheese. Or like, it's and the same as if you went vegan and a year in you accidentally ate a Big Mac or something.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's this attitude of you're either 100% in it or you're not.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's like if you cock up, oh well,
It's
shit,
like binge culture.
I'm not a vegan anymore.
Yeah.
This is rubbish because I did this. But it's like, actually, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, no one's perfect. Just
Yeah.
if you want to be a vegan, then be as vegan as you can possibly be. And if you can't
Exactly.
fully be one, then who's judging? Who gives a shit?
Exactly.
Just don't call yourself a vegan, but do it. a
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
Like,
There's so many, like, there's a moral kind of spectrum in that respect. And you either apply yourself to it or you just do what you feel is right. And I think most people should just do what they feel is right. There's going to be some people at either end, always, that are calling you out for not being vegan enough or, you know, ethical enough or whatever.
Just don't slip and fall and then get veganuary stuck in your anus. If
Don't
you're at
slip
that
and
end.
fall. But yeah, it is definitely a spectrum in that respect. Just do what you can.
But it is good to be vegan.
Yeah.
Don't
you
get me
should,
wrong.
like, if you want to go down the moral hole, be vegan, but, you know, do what you want.
Just don't be a prick about it.
Don't be a prick. Be vegan, don't be vegan, just don't be a dick. There
Yeah.
we are. What's your 5th item to take to a desert island?
Oh, fucking
What?
hell. Well, we're going to have to
Your
do
5th.
the first.
So does that mean you have
first
to
four,
name
aren't
the...
we?
Yeah, is that just what you're taking to a desert island? And what's the 5th one?
Right, let me just double check. This isn't. It's not like Desert Island Discs where you're just taking albums, is it? You're taking things.
You take things. Oh, no, I was going to say one, but you need something else. Oh.
Well, that's the problem. Can you take things together? Is it like, I want to take this album, so therefore automatically the stereo comes with it? Or, do you know what I mean? Or do you
Well, I
have
think
to...
you have to take separate things.
Right, fuck.
Yeah, like a stereo
Right.
and then it's like ACD. Or can you say CD collection?
All right, this is a very... Because we haven't got time to go through this in too much depth. I'm going to say, without question, the only things that I would need if I was on a desert island
Yeah.
is someone to read,
Yeah.
someone to write in, and someone to listen to. So I guess I've got to take... It depends how small I'm going. I've got to take a pen,
Yeah.
a stereo of some sort, one book.
What's that one book?
We'll get to that.
All right.
That's a book to write in. Oh, Jesus Christ. And one album. Fuck a duck. So
You're
fifth...
not eating. What are you going to eat?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about food.
That's
No,
fine.
fuck food.
Okay.
The book would be Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. No, it wouldn't. It
Oh.
would be Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. And the album would be... Fucking hell.
I mean, this is a hole that you don't have to go down right now because it's hard.
No, but that's the 5th. That's the thing. I like to answer the question. You just think about what your 5th is. Whilst I'm... I'd probably be stupid to just bring one band's album. So it would be.
You can
It would
say
need to be a compilation. I would make myself a mix CD
Oh, okay.
of the top 73 or whatever minutes worth of music. I mean,
Fair.
it would probably make more sense to take a fucking MP3 player, I suppose.
Yeah, in
I would
hindsight.
I would take Spotify. What's your
Spotify.
5th? What's your 5th?
I agree on the kind of like the reading and the listening to music sort of things. I think I would need like an well, no, because you're on a desert island. Island would be quite cool. Can we bring the cat? No.
Oh God, I've left the cat to die.
I know, the cat's dead. I was thinking
Just so I could bring a pen.
something to cook potatoes in.
No, well, like a fryer.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to plug it into anything.
A solar panelled air fryer.
All right.
And I would cut it up with a twig. We'd have wedges all
next
day.
thing, 'cause we're
I'd bring
getting
ketchup.
behind.
Go on. Mayonnaise. Can I make mayonnaise on this desert island?
Right, I remember this one, and I think you're going to have a better chance of... Why is Goofy more or less like a person and can speak,
Yeah.
but Pluto is just a regular dog?
Yeah. I understand it and I don't have an answer. So do you understand this at all? Do you know,
I know
what's going
who
on?
Goofy and who Pluto are, but
Yeah.
and I think I might have heard this discussion before.
Yeah.
I feel like it might even be in a film or something, but I might be wrong about that. I feel like I've
Well,
overheard...
I heard this discussed by Johnny from Riviera Kid at What's a Cool Fest. whilst tuning
Oh,
his
so
guitar.
maybe I was... Oh, maybe
Yeah.
that's right. Jesus, it just sunk into my subconscious then.
Yeah.
So I don't think... is Pluto blue?
No.
Right, so I don't know the difference between them, so I'm useless.
So in the Disney world, animals they take on human characteristics.
yeah, I understand that, yeah.
But Pluto is the dog that remains a dog.
Okay.
So he's owned by animals. I can't remember whose dog he belongs to.
Oh, I see.
But
So
he is a
yeah.
dog, but he's still a dog. Yet Goofy has a child and they talk and he's mates with all the other Disney characters. But yet Pluto remains a dog.
I see.
And I don't really know what to think of that. Because if you go really philosophical down is it slavery?
So they're from... what, you want to go... Yeah, fuck.
But this is what I mean. Like, what is that? It's a, you know...
Are these from the same... They're from... So these are like
it's the
classic...
same Disney World, yeah.
They're from the world, but then they would have had their own...
I can't remember whose dog Pluto is. It might be Mickey Mouse's dog, but I don't know.
Because I guess now, like, all those characters just must... They just coexist, don't they? They're just like... It's not like Mickey Mouse has his own cartoon, or if he did, he might. But, like,
yeah, but
they're
if you
just, like... They're so emblematic.
Yeah,
of
if you went to
Disney
World, they would all be hanging out.
But then I presume that the people in Disney World who play Goofy and who play Pluto, respectively, probably both talk to the kids and stuff, right?
I don't know if Pluto would, because Pluto's a dog.
But I presume that they would have to, just because if they're getting their picture taken...
Well, you might just be like, all right, kid. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I don't think they would be able...
What would the child think when it looked round the corner and it was just... And he had his head off and he was smoking a joint or something?
Well, I think Pluto's owner would do the talking. I can't remember who Pluto's owner is.
I reckon... I've got nothing to base this on, but I reckon that in Disneyland they all walk around separately, and because they... Just to cover more...
Just to avoid this.
To cover more... Because it would all be about how many kids they can get photos taken with and stuff. It's totally corporate, isn't it? So they probably expected to get like a photo every 10.37 seconds or something. No, I don't know.
Oh, I don't want to think about this element of it is quite sad. I don't know.
I'm not really a Disneysman.
You're not a Disneyman at all, which is sad because you should be, because Disney's amazing. I mean, it's not amazing.
I mean, he was a paedophile and it is a horrible corporation.
Yeah.
That's literally buying the world. So I'm not really that sad.
This next one is tarmacking, and your thoughts on it.
I've prepped this.
Have
Are you ready?
Because so when this came in, full disclosure, we were like, oh, tarmacking. What, as in laying things on the road? And we were like, wait a minute, is this a sexual deviancy that we aren't aware of? And do we need to look it up? So we weren't going to look it up until right this minute, and Dave has prepared it.
You ready?
And he's looking at me.
Tarmacked, which I think is, and tarmacking is the plural. Tarmacked is where a male and female take part in sexual intercourse, and where the female is on top and sits on the male's chest and shits on his chest and rubs up and down. Do you want to hear an example?
I think that is an example.
Oh, what? God, last night I got totally tarmacked. I was with this really hot chick and she was on top. I mean, this is so bad. This is literally from the Urban Dictionary. It's so badly written. Then she sat on my chest and did a shit on it and started rubbing up and down. So I don't know how to have thoughts about this.
I don't understand the need.
I didn't know what it was.
We vaguely was aware that it might be bad.
I presumed it had poo involved in it.
I didn't presume poo. I don't know why.
I don't know why I did, but I did immediately
makes
think...
sense.
Yeah. I mean, underneath this on the Urban Dictionary, you can get a tarmacked mug.
Tarmacked mug?
From what I can make out.
Tarmacked.
So this is brilliant.
You go to the office and it declares you've been pooped on.
There's obviously a company that makes mugs, right, that you can more or less have any word printed on. And it's just a plain white mug with a yellow square, and then the picture, it just says word. So I guess you can replace the word with whatever you like.
Oh, okay. Not word as in word.
I don't know, but I'm guessing that every single Urban Dictionary thing that you go to, there's probably this little fucking banner ad that says, get a tarmacked mug.
Yeah.
You know, get a whatever else.
Get a mug that says this stupid word on it.
Yeah, there is. They're all, every single one. Get a tarmacking mug. Tarmacking, the act of defecating onto someone and then smearing it in. Like hot rolled asphalt.
Asphalt.
Although Elton liked a good tarmacking, he found it difficult to clean his congealed chest hair afterwards. I'm reading this direct from the internet.
Elton.
What are we supposed to be talking about? Our
Discussing
thoughts on it.
I don't really... I think we've said what it is.
Again,
I've learned something new.
We at Breakfast Punx are very sex positive.
Yeah,
if both partners enjoy tarmacking, being tarmacked or
doing the tarmac, laying the tarmac down.
I mean, obviously you've got to make sure with your partner that they're up for this and have a long conversation about it.
Yeah, really consider what it is you're
Really
doing.
chat, but I've got nothing morally against it. I
Chat,
don't give a
then
fuck.
scat.
I'm not really a scatsman myself. I'm not pretending. I don't really understand the attraction. But
No.
that's neither. What does that matter? It makes no difference whether I understand the attraction or not. If someone enjoys it, fucking go at it.
I don't get poo, but if you do, then go at it.
There you go. Next. Thanks so much for whoever sent that. Actually, I know who sent that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, this is a little one that we sort of added as an extra. We keep bringing up the Lils and the DaBabies.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have a clue who any of them are.
Little the baby.
And Lil Peep we brought up
We
on
did.
the last episode.
And we poo-pooed him, and we were
Because I
reminded that he
presumed he
might be
was
the
a
voice of a generation.
Yeah. So we did check out both Lil Peep and
The baby.
DaBaby, but also another Lil, didn't we?
No, there was no more
No,
Lil,
there was
because
no
we'd
more
accidentally looked up a Lil. I can't remember what he's called.
Now I've got to say, DaBaby,
Lil Lotus.
Lil
we looked him
Lotus.
up by accident.
Yeah,
Bad.
he was terrible.
Bad. Epitaph, you've done some shit.
So I would say, I don't think we need to say anything about DaBaby because he was
Baby's horse shit.
fucking dog shit.
And he's a homophobic asshole who he just completely pooed himself in public recently.
Did he
with
poo
how-
on someone's chest
No,
and then tarmac it?
But he just completely showed himself for how awful of a human being he is quite
Okay.
recently and got thrown off of loads of music festivals. So we don't need to talk about DaBaby, but it does turn out his music is utter
Yeah, I didn't know.
shit.
But Lil Peep, when I looked him up on the internet, he was described as something
goth
emo. Click emo or something.
emo goth something.
And I thought, oh god, this is going to be absolutely
This is
dreadful.
Lil Lotus
because-
all over again.
Well, yeah, to be honest, yeah, because the problem is with the word emo. We might get onto this. I'm sure
we should
might.
do emo versus emo for
maybe we should.
an episode one
But
day.
it's a very confused term.
Yeah.
So if you say something is emo,
emo in my language
yeah.
is bad, and emo
And-
in your language is completely
I
different.
mean, we're the same. We would speak the same language, but I know what you mean.
Well, 9 years makes a difference.
No, it totally does. No, I agree. Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah.
And so in that context, I presumed when I saw this, just really at my own ignorance, because it was like a modern person, I was just like, this is going to be like fucking My Chemical Romance with a synthesizer, and I'm not up for that at all. But it isn't like that, and I think we have different views on this. I didn't love it, didn't think it was incredible, but it does sound, his songs, that we only listened to 3 or 4 of them, they do sound like late 90s emo music, sung through 3,000 machines and with like an electronic backing track, which, and you're going to not like this at all, I don't think, but it reminded me a little bit of the Postal Service.
Oh, that's fine. I
In a way.
can handle that. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And there was, but also there was obviously like there was a guitar somewhere hidden in there, and the guitar was literally doing like it sounded like the fucking Dismemberment Plan.
Yeah.
Or like some of it sounded a bit like Sensefield. Like Sensefield, sort of. I love Sensefield, but they
Yeah.
kind of, if you listen to them out of context, they sound like a middle of the road rock band.
yeah.
And in a way, they were a middle of the road rock band, but they did have like hardcore roots, and they would. There was more to them. There was something interesting going on. They made their later stuff was a bit more. It sounded like Christian rock, but their earlier stuff was quite interesting. And there was something about it that reminded me of that. If it was put through, I was going to say modern, but he actually died like quite a while ago. I mean, I suppose this music isn't
Years
brand
ago,
new
yeah.
by any means, but if it was put through sort of a modern take on that with electronics in the background,
I just
and
can't-
I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're giving it an awful. Maybe I'm being rude. You're giving it an awful lot of credit. Where I think the word emo used by them is definitely the emo I'm referring to, as opposed to your nicer
But I
version
don't
of
think it
emo.
sounded
And
like
I
that.
think, yeah, I don't know. I think that's accidental. I don't believe that anyone who had anything to do with the production of That Boy is aware of the emo scene of the 90s and early 2000s, like you are aware of. But I am so willing to be wrong, and if I found out that he was produced by people that are well into Sensefield and Texas is the Reason and all this cool stuff, then fair enough. But I think that would not be
So
the
funny
case.
enough, I didn't even presume it would have been the producer. I thought he must have.
Nah.
That's the impression I got, because presuming he writes the songs, I'm making a lot of presumptions because I've not looked into it. that
I
much.
would say that the bit he writes is the words, which have nothing to do.
So the
with...
words are kind of like grotty sort of white boy rap,
Yeah.
but the way that they're sung at times has a bit of a ring of there's something more going on. There's something,
Yeah.
and it might just be that there's like 50 million other people that sound exactly like him now. And so I sound like a really old man going, yeah, this sounds a bit different, because maybe it doesn't sound any different.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe this is what music sounds like now.
I still think his version of emo is going to be Dashboard Confessional as opposed to Sensitive.
But even Dashboard Confessional came out of Further Scenes Forever, who weren't great, but they were like... They were at least... No, but you see, depends what Further Scenes Forever you've listened to. John Bunch from Sensefield sung on one of their albums, and it's a fucking banger.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it was after Dashboard Confessional left, but still.
Oh.
I don't like Dashboard Confessional.
No, let's not get into that. So next, discuss everything wrong with Home Sweet Home Alone. Which we've only just realised existed because we were happily living in a world where we didn't know about this because we don't leave the house or look at the Odeon poster very often.
I can't believe that this didn't get to cinema. This is going back to the
this is
question,
Disney.
It was definitely it's on their Disney like streaming
straight to Disney. So
this
Alone,
is something else they fucking bought.
Yeah.
They bought Home Alone.
Oh, I don't have much to say. We've only watched the trailer because fuck you, I'm never going to watch this film. And I've only ever watched the first Home Alone. Whoops. So in this version, from what I can tell from the trailer, the little Home Alone boy is English and well annoying. Ugh. And just like, he's just been made out to be like, look at that rubbish child. I mean, I don't like children, but he is really a bad version of one. I can't remember who else is even in it, but all the people are just awful.
Well, I think there's a bunch of people that are kind of like known in it. But for what I can make out from the trailer, it's obviously a family that are like half English,
half American.
Half American. I don't know where they live.
No.
But the English aspect of it, they're all like proper plums in the mouth, grotty, shitty.
Oh, you can slip on the glue outside.
Like, just the absolute worst. Well, that wasn't quite. That was more like that Cockney. But yeah. And then they go on holiday, and Kimmy Schmidt turns up as the burglar, and he does some pranks. I mean, it looks like the storyline is obviously the exact same. I mean, unsurprisingly, the exact same as Home Alone. But this looks fucking horrible.
It looks awful.
The reviews sort of sum up humanity in a way.
Yeah.
In as much as they basically say, okay, let me start off by saying that this movie was terrible, painful to watch. Had horrible lessons for kids. I don't really know what they are. Although I'm guessing if you watch the original Home Alone, whoever this person is, depending on where they come from, they might think the same. How I felt about this movie, I was so disappointed when I watched this movie on Disney+. Plot fell short when compared to literally any other Home Alone movie. This includes Home Alone 3. Terrible. But then someone else has just said, let me paint you a picture of how I prepared for Home Sweet Home Alone. Ugh. Getting comfy. Tossed away the jeans and I put on my finest pair of boxers. They're Doctor Who themed and read, it's bigger on the inside. Made myself a cup of cocoa, snuggled into my sofa and ... I'm not reading the rest of it. I'm guessing after that it goes on to be about Home Alone, but it's not. I should say that we did have a conversation when this came through of maybe we should make this our movie to watch.
And then we watched the trailer.
Movie, and we watched the trailer, and 1 minute 44 was enough to tell me that I would have actually committed a hate crime if I was made to watch an hour and a half of this fucking dog shit movie that just looks horrible. The original Home Alones, let's just say the first one.
I've only ever watched the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily stand up filmmaking wise, but Macaulay Culkin is a wonderful human being. Went on to create a pizza-themed Velvet Underground tribute band, which
Only good thing he ever did.
I saw in a pizza restaurant once, and we were all given a free slice of pizza whilst we watched.
Sounds good. You've got a well-good T-shirt as well.
Very, very unusual gig. He is a wonderful, wonderful person, I think. He was obviously a bit difficult, but he's gone on to really come into his own. I've got a horrible feeling that he might have a cameo in this film, but I'm actually not going to look up whether he does or not. Because
and he's got a brother who acts in nice things as well now.
Yes.
So everything's good.
So that's not really a review of the film, but...
no, we're not watching that film. Yes, we agree. It's an absolute travesty. Watch the trailer, everyone, if you want to hurt yourself.
All right. We were asked to discuss the album Fontelle by Babes in Toyland, which apparently turns 30 this year, or next year. Soon. It's going to turn 30. I think it's next year. I think it was 92.
I don't know. Well, I wouldn't know because I'm going to be full disclosure. I'm not very au fait with bands of yesteryear, and whilst I'm aware of them existing, I hadn't actually listened to them or this album. So this was my first foray into listening to this album ever. I really liked it. Good. I mean, I have nothing to refer it to. I know that they're like peers of L7 sort of era music. And it's very early 90s in its production and in its sound, which is enjoyable, and we really like that, so that's not a problem ever. But yeah, no, I really liked it. I'm sure I don't know how it really juggles with things of its time.
I think stylistically, Babes in Toyland fit into a really interesting whole, along with, you're right, L7, definitely, but also along with things like Tad and like Mudhoney.
Okay.
I would say they're all of a kind of similar ilk of pre-grunge bands that came sort of from a punk background, but were definitely really influenced by metal as well.
Yeah.
And created the sound that would become known as grunge. But definitely wasn't known as that at the time. And probably as a result was much more interesting and much more like free-flowing, because I don't think those bands were all like smushed together. And I think it's a type of music that up until the last couple of years I would have said, not from my own taste, but it probably hasn't aged that well, because it sounds really 90s. Like both production-wise, but also just like the way the music's put together. It's all kind of like, it's kind of, I'm not really even sure how to describe it. There's probably musical terms that if I knew them I'd be able to use. But the vocals are all really strong on kind of all of these sorts of bands. But the music, I feel like, just sounds old now.
Okay.
But the interesting thing that I'd say is that I've noticed this. I've seen a bunch of bands over the last, probably the last year, or heard a bunch of bands who are kind of influenced by this era of music, this like pre-grunge. And I don't know if they're directly influenced. They might just be being influenced by grunge, because obviously like the 90s are back. And in some respects, I suppose if you kind of play grunge with some other influences, you might end up stumbling across this
I
style.
completely agree.
I don't think I'm doing a very good job of describing
No, I know
it.
what you mean. Like if you're influenced by something that was influenced by this sort of music.
Yeah. But
Like,
also I think this sort of music really... So, for example, if you were going to try and rip off Nirvana, chances are you might end up sounding like Babes in Toyland. Or you might end up sounding like Tad. Or you might end up sounding like L7. You know? And I just think it's interesting because there's a bunch... And obviously this is pre-Riot Girl. Well, actually this album isn't pre-Riot Girl. But I feel like Babes in Toyland were pre-Riot Girl. Same as L7. They weren't really a part of Riot Girl directly. And I think that they actually did all stand quite... So Lunatics were the same. They were all three of those bands. They were around sort of pre-Riot Girl and they weren't really a part of it. And I think purposefully didn't really want to be a part of it particularly. And partly probably because they were much more popular. They were bigger bands, really. I know Kathleen Hanna says that Babes in Toyland were a massive influence on Bikini Kill, and they would have definitely been a big influence. But I think musically they don't sound like Riot Girl at all.
No.
And I think it's one of those sad things as well. Sometimes when you look back, you'd throw... I know I just have, but you throw in, there's a bunch of bands that were all just female bands.
Yeah.
And it was quite rare at that time, so therefore they are the same. But actually, they really weren't, and they really didn't have that much to do with each other. And I think I think Babes in Toyland's peers were definitely L7, and those two bands are probably the most similar. But like I say, I think they were more like the proto-grunge bands, which were mostly just fat blokes.
All the stuff that was hanging around in that area and that scene, pre-Seattle being the place to be and pre sound being dubbed as a sound.
Yeah, but also, of course, they weren't from Seattle.
Where are they from? Actually,
Minneapolis. I think.
Minneapolis.
And the same like L7 were from LA. So they were separate from grunge. And they were probably separate from grunge because they were girls as well, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, they definitely would have influenced a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's a big overlap between Hole and Babes in Toyland.
That's who I was thinking when I heard them.
Yeah, there's kind of... so there's a weird thing, I don't know if I'm going to get this story exactly right, but Courtney Love has said that she was the bass player in Babes in Toyland for a while. They've said that she wasn't. And some members have said that she was and some haven't, and it's a bit of a weird thing. But there are some songs on Hole's very early albums that have like the same lyrics as some Babes in Toyland songs. I don't know the end of that story.
I know how I could believe that went, but that's based on just limited hatred for certain people.
Not Babes in Toyland.
Not Babes in Toyland.
Siobhan's done a bottle of Prosecco, by the way.
Doing all right. And to commemorate the joy for Prosecco, festive cat picture. We've been sent a cat picture.
We asked people to send in their pets. We got one pet.
And this is not that you can see it.
No, we're going to describe. I'll describe.
Oh, okay.
You introduce the cat, and I will describe.
So this is Lizzo. She is the cat that belongs to the sewer cats, which is Cass and Josh. Hello.
Played on the show.
We've played them on the show. They're very beautiful. They're very lovely. And Lizzo is a big fluffy cat. And in this picture, well, Dave's going to describe her. But can I just add that this photo won her the best dressed pet at the competition at Josh's work. So, their words, she is full of it. And it is a glorious picture.
She's got every right to be full of herself.
Oh, look at her.
So this cat is glorious. Absolutely glorious.
Describe her.
So let me ignore the outfit for a second. I'll get to the outfit.
Yeah.
Outfit is pushing it.
Ooh!
She is, and I don't know anything about. I love cats, but I don't know. I can't describe like breeds or anything like that. So that you're going to get none of that.
So what you're going to get? Standard basic facts.
Lovely, big, fluffy, beautiful cat.
Yeah.
She looks about as fluffy as Clockworthy Skeffington, who is our cat, who's the only cat that I can really compare.
She looks bigger than her, though.
I will just say that Clockworthy has been sitting on a chair next to us throughout this podcast purring, so you might have heard her. Yeah. She's got beautiful big yellow eyes.
Oh.
I'm guessing that her pupils probably get really big when she's excited by something or when food's about to come.
Shake the Dreamies packet.
But I'm presuming that. Yeah. She's a mixture of black and white. She's got a lovely like Batman top of her head, where so like everything around her eyes and her ears are black, and then she's got a lovely white moustache, a little black soul patch, and then the rest of her sort of front of her body is white, and then it's a mixture on the back.
It's almost like Maine Coon amount of fluff. She's really fluffy.
She looks super chill in this picture. She just sort of looks like she's looking at the photographer like, yeah.
Also, can I just say, this is a beautiful photo because she's wearing a hat. I don't mean to like give it away.
Sorry, you go for it.
She's wearing a little Santa hat, and her and this Santa hat are so beautifully in focus.
She's also sitting on tinsel.
But she's in amongst this tinsel that's slightly out of focus, but that makes it more glittery. And there's some essence of Christmas lights in the background. Maybe someone's hanging up a Christmas jumper and it's got lights on it. That's what it looks like. No offense if it's not that. It just looks.
It's extremely.
It's such a good photo.
I mean,
if they give us the permission to repost it, we'll repost it. So on the page, so everyone can see it.
I really hope that no Botox were used in the making of this cat, I hope that no Photoshop was used because we will disqualify you.
Oh, your 55 million Arab dollars are down the toilet. You cannot have them.
If I was going to award a cat,
you are not Miss Camel cat.
If I was going to award a cat,
the Miss
$55 million.
Well, it's Clockworthy.
Yeah, but this cat would get a nice packet of dreams.
Yeah. We love you, Lizzo. We love you, sewer cats.
Right, now we've got to list the worst Christmas movies. Well, I think we've just watched probably one of the worst Christmas movies of all time, which we'll spend a bit more time on later.
Yeah.
But there's one other that jumps to mind for me, which Siobhan made me watch a few years ago, which is called Santa Claus versus the Martians.
Santa Claus conquers the Martians.
Oh, there you go. I don't think I paid enough attention to know whether he conquered.
Well, I don't remember him doing anything. I don't remember there being a plot to this film. I can't remember where we watched it, but it's a Christmas film from the 1960s. I think it's 64. And it's got Pia Sedora in it, who is in...
She's in Voyage of the Rock Aliens.
She is in Voyage of the Rock Aliens, which is fucking brilliant. She's in a couple of things. Does she turn up in Hairspray? Or something like that as well.
She might be in Earth Girls Aren't Easy or something.
Yeah, she's in a few random things. And she's pretty cool. And anyway, somehow Santa Claus Conquers the Martians turned up on my list of things to watch. So I forced us to watch it. And it was fucking, not even a film.
It was really bad.
It was really bad. But I think it was because it's old. It was an attempt at sci-fi, but also a Christmas movie. It makes no sense whatsoever. I really don't remember anything good about it.
There wasn't anything good about it. I think
it's got a solid 2.7 on IMDb.
Yeah, there's a
but I think everyone should watch
science fiction theatre 3000 on it, which tells you probably how bad
it is. We'll get to the worst Christmas film because we watched it for this podcast. So hold your breath. Who would win in a fight between all of the members of Toxic What's It?
Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, you've got an opinion on this. Yeah?
Yeah.
I would say that we're all very chilled out people and we would never fight. We're not fighters, we're lovers. But
if it came down to it, it would be between...
Uh,
oh, no, wait a
Daniel
minute.
Flanagan's good at kung fu.
He's got the karate.
So he would probably win.
Kathy, for sure, is just sitting down and drinking wine.
Well, I think, to be honest, in fairness, I think we would all probably just sit down and chill out. So
Yeah,
let's
fair.
say me.
No.
Nirvana, the greatest band ever?
Oh,
Question
Lord,
mark?
that's...
This could be a
No.
big one. All right. Go on, opinion.
To be honest, Nirvana is a band that I've never bothered to even take much of an interest in, and I think it's purely because of the age I was born. But I just never really took I never went and listened to their albums. I never went and listened to everything that they did to get a full opinion of them. I just decided, you know what, everyone thinks they're good, so I'm not going to listen to them, which is a stupid thing to have done. So I can only say the music that I've heard of them that I like, but whether they were like massively influential, I don't know, because I feel like loads of people around there, especially all of the like documentaries and bands I've learnt about from around that time, I feel like, well, there was a lot of people doing that.
I think that they did it particularly well, and I
Yeah.
think that probably they were very influential, but they were more influenced. So they were so influenced by so many of the
Yeah.
bands that I know that you love
Yeah.
from that period before then, that I think probably if it was possible to hear them completely out of context,
Yeah.
I think you would probably really like them. I was 11 years old when Nevermind came out, so it was a bit before me, but definitely like they were massive when I was first getting into music. And I had one of those stupid things with my brother where if he liked a band, I couldn't really like them, and vice versa. And they were one of his bands.
So
Most of those grunge bands were one of his bands.
Was Bon Jovi yours?
No, it was his.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I hated Bon Jovi.
What?
yeah. Kiss was mine, Bon Jovi
Oh, Kiss was
his.
yours, yeah, fair.
Blind
Who got
Melon.
Skid Row?
Blind Melon was mine.
He got Skid Row,
and
didn't he?
got Skid Row too.
Oh.
And Nirvana
Blind
was
Melon.
his. He got Pearl Jam. I got Bad Religion. So there's
yeah,
sometimes I
fair.
won, sometimes I lost. But point being that I think looking back and like listening to their stuff now, where it's not like so everywhere,
Yeah.
I can really appreciate it now,
Yeah.
I think.
What I would say is even when they were massive, because I liken them to Green Day in as much as Nirvana got massive and broke grunge to everyone and created grunge wasn't really even a thing. Like that music scene, that music scene was happening, but then everyone labelled it a thing. And Green Day broke pop punk that era of pop punk to the world. Whereas I feel like Nirvana were more gracious and reflected on their peers way better.
Oh, that's unfair. Green Day really reflected on their peers.
Maybe I'm speaking from a...
I think they both did. I think both of those bands... I think
fair.
they're both examples of bands
I think
that
it's
really
more...
did that.
And Nirvana really don't have an opportunity to do that anymore, whereas Green Day have done a really bad job.
When Green Day played their first stadium shows, they took Pansy Division with them.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
fair. Sorry,
Like,
I take it back.
And the Riverdales and stuff
I
like
absolutely take it back then. I'm just speaking more of a modern day. Green Day are just...
Yeah, well, it's different, isn't it?
They've really
been
lost
a
where they
stadium
came
rock
from.
band for a long
And
time.
Nirvana didn't ever get the chance to lose where they came from, although Dave Grohl's doing a really good job of it. But... Yeah, I would say Nirvana did a really good job of championing the places and the people that they came from.
I do think it was different as well because a lot of the things that they were championing became popular themselves.
Yeah.
It was such a weird explosion, and I think there is something really special about that time, no matter what you think of the bands or the style of music that was going on, where and we sort of talked about this on the last episode, really. I'm not necessarily saying it's worse now or anything like that. It's not like, oh, it was so much better back then. But it was such an unusual time where a band like Nirvana could become the biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
And where people that sounded like them, even if they were nowhere near as well known, were selling like 1 million copies of their album.
Yeah.
And they're bands that you would never know about now and stuff. So it was a really interesting time where the mainstream was hungry for something that was just like, here's a real band from a real place who happen to just be really good.
Yeah.
And now they're the biggest band in the world. And I feel like those times have, in a way, completely disappeared.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's all we've got now. Because no one's really no one's selling 10 million copies of their album.
Yeah.
So everyone's geting big in the same kind of ground roots way.
Yeah, and you
So
can
it's
get big
different.
via
It's not-
so many different routes now. If you're savvy at being online, then you're going to find an audience that love you and you're going to be good.
But anyway, in answer to the question, I would say no, but I'm closer to agreeing with it than Siobhan is.
Fair enough, but I would say that's only because of my own ignorance.
You should definitely... We should probably do an
Yeah.
episode about Nirvana.
Maybe we should. I've got two because I'm going to whiz through the first one.
I think we're going to have to speed up now. Oh, bananas. Fuck bananas. I hate them. I don't know. I think I know who that was.
Yeah. I like bananas. That's fine.
Bananas are just like vomit in a tube that people eat, and I don't know why they eat.
I spent years not liking bananas. I like them now, and I like even more that you don't like them. This is food related. Is whether cauliflower is traditional.
Oh yeah, so I don't understand
this at all, do you? It's Peep Show. I can't. Dave doesn't like Peep Show, which makes me just really sad that you don't like Peep Show because I love it.
We talked about this on the podcast before. I don't like hate Peep Show. I just think it's boring.
There's a beautiful
and for everything about it that's funny, there's way more things about it that I just are not enjoyable.
Oh, I love it. Well, one of the best Peep Show episodes ever is the Christmas episode, where it's just beautiful. Mark and his dad are really passive aggressive to each other, and they're really like, it's patriarchal and it's about being a man, and they didn't know he had a girlfriend, and he's brought his girlfriend along and hasn't really said that it's his girlfriend. Mark is David.
Weird looking one.
Thingy's character. Jesus Christ, I can't remember his name, but yeah, that one.
Yeah. Tubby one, not the skinny one.
The tubby one, not the skinny one.
Yeah.
And he's got a dad who's really like traditional and well off and proper, and he's refusing to acknowledge that Dobby is his girlfriend because she's a bit common, and so she's just his friend who's turned up, and it's all a bit like...
What is with the cauliflower?
Well, his dad doesn't believe that cauliflower belongs on a Christmas dinner.
Oh.
And Mark is like, I'm cooking Christmas dinner, Dad, and you're going to have to fucking deal with it, and I think cauliflower's traditional, and they have this argument. And it's funny if you care about Peep Show.
I mean,
he shreds some ham at one point in the shredder that his dad buys him for Christmas, and it's really nice.
I mean, that's metaphorically quite nice, but
yeah. I think sorry, no offense, but you and your dad's relationship, I feel like you would. It is this Peep Show episode to a fucking T.
Offence taken.
Yeah, no, I don't care. We're about to spend Christmas Day with your family, and I need you to watch this episode before we go there to fully appreciate what it feels like to be in a room with you and your dad.
in reflection of the actual question that was asked, yes, cauliflower.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. I've come round to cauliflower. Wasn't a fan.
Right, we've got next one. We've got to be really quick. We've only got a couple left.
Go.
Guar.
We're going to do an episode on guar.
We're definitely going to do an episode on guar. I feel like we should probably not just... Guar are fucking amazing. I don't know what else to say, really. We went to see him live in LA just before
best
COVID.
Gig ever.
And it was one of the best gigs I've ever been to in my life. If not maybe the best gig I've ever been to in my life. And just really quickly, Guar are a band who've been going for years. They are...
They're aliens from another... planet. They've come to enslave the human race. They wear prosthetic massive outfits and ornaments upon themselves, so they look like monsters,
but they're also hilarious.
They're fucking brilliant.
But they're also kind of like ingenious, but you do have to like peel away a lot of layers to get the ingeniousness. Their singer Odris Orungus died in real life, and ever since then Mike Bishop, who was the original bass player but in the 80s and 90s was in a band called Capone, who are one of the greatest bands of all time. He has come back and now he sings for them again. He's one of my ultimate heroes of all time ever. I don't know exactly whether Guar fans really like the fact that they carried on or anything. I mean, I don't think there's really a problem with it because obviously he was one of the original people anyway.
Yeah.
But we saw them with him. He's got lovely lots of udders that squirt milk at the audience.
Well, his udders are penises.
Oh, yes, they are. And he's wonderful.
He is beautiful.
Guar are wonderful.
Yeah,
there's a brilliant book about them. We'll do an episode about them.
Yeah.
Probably quite soon.
We owe so much more to Guar. Final question. Why is Leeds your favourite city? Is it? Dun dun dun!
Be careful.
I know.
Because I think I know where this
I feel like the Leeds contingent are angry. And when I say contingent, I mean there's one female who will hurt us if we don't say Leeds is really good.
I love Leeds.
I do love
now,
Leeds actually.
But I have to say, so when I very first started, like, actually, here we go. Here's an interesting rate. When I very first started getting into like punk and stuff, like UK DIY punk, Leeds had an incredible scene. It was mostly emo. This brings in so many things that we've talked about. This is a lovely way of finishing.
Look at this.
So mostly had a really cool emo scene. And I was umming and ahhing about what song I was going to do for our 90s one, but now this has done it. I'm going to play a song from the Leeds 6 scene from like 1995 or 6 or something. So we'll get to that. But every gig, when I started gigging around with bands and stuff, every gig I ever played in Leeds was always terrible, and we always used to get lost on the one-way systems really badly, like so that it was memorable. But I used to dread going to Leeds because we would just definitely get lost. And in fairness, this was probably pre like Google Maps.
Oh gosh.
Like,
In
so
fairness,
we are literally using like a paper map.
When
and
I
stuff.
drove to Leeds with Mr. Mark Tanner from your band, he did some horrible driving on the way up. Like, we cut across, like, we'd be on the outside lane by 3. He'd be like, yeah, cool, and just cut across all of them because of this stupid one-way system we didn't really understand.
Yeah.
So it was pretty shit.
But so it is a bit of a nightmare. But then I had a bunch of friends in Leeds, like, a bit later on, and so I ended up going there quite a lot, and I kind of got into it. Dead anyways played there a few times, and those gigs were all right. And then every time I've come with Haste, which actually hasn't been that many, it's only been 2, I think, and then we've gone up there for a festival or 2. And since then, and we record regularly up there at the Organ Works studio, which if you're in a band, you should definitely record at.
Yeah.
And I love it now. I think it's brilliant. I don't think I ever hated it. I don't know, what was the question?
Why is Leeds your favourite city?
Because I don't get lost there anymore.
Hey.
Why is Leeds your favourite city?
Because I don't get lost there anymore. Comeback Lid's first gig, it was awful.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
But the people of Leeds are very nice. I really like Wharf Chambers, which is pretty much the only place in Leeds I've ever been to other than Bunderbust. Bunderbust is also very nice. Yeah, I have no complaints. Leeds has always been really kind to me, and I enjoy it very much.
I will say that the last time Haste went there to record, I didn't go with them because we were away. And they were just recording music, and we still haven't finished that. So we're going up soon. We were supposed to have already done it, but we haven't yet. Anyway, the rest of the band bought a takeaway, which was basically a bucket of chips covered in vegan slop.
Oh.
And I could...
Is it from Vegan Punx?
I have no idea. I can tell exactly why they bought it, but these things were like the size of a pizza, like a square pizza, but thick with chips and covered in just like muck. Oh, it just looked like gout on a tray.
Gout on a tray, it probably was. We had Frazzle Fries last time I went for Nicest Pie Fest. It's definitely a bit of a king place for vegan food, or vegan junk shit. I love it. Yes, Leeds, you're very good. The espresso martini shots.
Oh, Wharf
at
Chambers
Wharf
is
Chambers
a wonderful place.
Alone
Yeah.
will bring me back. And Nicest Pie and Nicest Pie Race and Pie Race are wonderful things to go to
So
Leeds for.
those are all the reasons
Pretty
why
much,
Leeds
they are
is
the
our...
only 2 times I've ever been to Leeds. So, yes.
Actually, do you know what? Leeds
Yeah.
could be my favourite city because
Ooh.
it's not as good as Hastings. Sorry, guys, but Hastings isn't a city. I prefer it to London, definitely. Now, although I feel like a traitor saying that. Oh, hello.
Don't know. We'll get there.
We like some others as well.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get there, Leeds.
Dear listener, whatever city you are in, that's our favourite city.
Oh.
Now, how was that
You
for a Christmas party? I
you
feel like
smooth
this.
bastard. I've drank loads of Prosecco and eaten a hell of a lot of sausage rolls.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about all the food we were eating. Anyway, we've eaten some food. We're gonna play some more music now. This is a band called Lizard Hips.
Hey.
It's from their Aquatic Ruin EP, which has come out on CD. You can get it via a zine called the Screever Zine.
Oh, I keep seeing this.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing zine, which you should definitely check out. Just go and look it up online.
Woo woo. Screever.
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 Yeah, with you.
It's a wonderful zine. I actually did a interview in the last.
Oh yes, I read
one.
it. Yeah.
And we talk a little bit about Breakfast Punx podcast.
Oh,
Sorry, I
gosh.
can't even say this
How
anymore. We
much
talk a
red
bit
wine
about
have you had?
Breakfast Punx podcast. So, this
Yeah.
is Lizard Hips
Woo!
with their song Paint by Numbers. Merry Christmas.
I can settle down, pay my bills and work, but this photograph only makes it worse. It reminds me how I think too much about other
trash. This is sweet, sweet trash.
To avoid fainting, keep repeating.
I love what I see.
Leave the auditorium. It's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie.
So this week's Christmassy movie is Santa with Muscles. For fuck's sake, it's Santa with Muscles from 1996.
In the season of Santa, there are two kinds of people. The naughty and the nice.
I got $50 for the first elf that brings me a Santa Claus.
Hulk Hogan is Blake Thorne, and he's definitely naughty. Now, this confused bad boy is Santa, like you've never seen him before. A bearded basher of bad guys. A hero with a silly hat. A Robin Hood in red. And he's got 3 days to foil a band of evil scientists.
Assemble the team. We're taking the orphanage.
Wait till Santa hears about this. He'll kick your butt to New Year's.
Hulk Hogan is Santa with muscles.
Blake Thorne is a conceited, self-made millionaire who sells bodybuilding supplements and equipment. One day, while recklessly playing paintball, he is targeted by police. He's chased to a shopping mall where he hides by putting on a Santa costume, slides down the garbage chute to escape the police, and bangs his head, resulting in amnesia. Mistaken by Lenny as the mall Santa, Blake begins to think he really is Santa Claus. Meanwhile, the evil scientist Ebner Frost tries to take over an orphanage in order to gain access to the magical crystals underneath it and dispatches his henchmen to destroy it. However, Blake, after discovering that being Santa has made him a better person and that Frost wants to destroy the very same orphanage he grew up in, he manages to escape and rescue the children. Frost and his henchmen are arrested, but the orphanage...
Sorry.
Frost and his henchmen are arrested, but the orphanage is destroyed due to the overload of crystals, so Blake opens his mansion as a new home for the orphans. This attaches an awful lot of plot to a film that I didn't believe had one.
No, I mean, all of those things more or less happen.
They did happen, fair enough.
But
actually, the plot isn't the problem. I mean, the plot is awful, but there's so many more issues with this film other than how the story... Not what the story is. How it's told is bad, but the story itself is okay.
No.
Everything's
I mean, it definitely isn't. This film is fucking dreadful.
It's quite awful.
I think, in fairness, let's just give it a little bit of sort of proviso.
Yeah.
I do think that this is a children's film.
It's 1,000% a children's film.
Yeah.
1,000%.
And so it's really not aimed at us in any way. I do think it's a bit strange because it seems extremely low rent. I mean, I don't know exactly what the budget was, but there's certain things about it that are like extra. I
can tell you what the budget was.
Go on.
It was $200,000, and it was released in the cinema for 2 weeks, and
So
then it was
that's
straight out.
mental, because what I was trying to work out was 1996.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan definitely isn't at the peak of his career, but he has a weird... Sorry, we're going to talk about wrestling quickly again.
Yeah.
He was like, obviously in the 80s and through to the early 90s, he was the... Not only in wrestling, but he was like a megastar.
Yeah.
And then he had a few sort of less popular years.
Yeah.
He joined WCW and
But
the
he
other
was still
promotion.
the big deal with
Well, then in
WCW.
WCW, he then like turned heel, and then he became one of the biggest wrestlers in the world again. But he probably, whilst he was still known because he'd been famous before, he probably wasn't like the megastar that he once was in a way.
Yeah.
He could, and then of course he went on to have later things
Well,
like
also
his
because
fucking
other
reality
wrestlers
TV show and
turn
stuff.
up at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's not like... At one point, he was the...
He
there
was
was only
wrestling,
4
I think.
wrestlers,
Or-
pretty
yeah,
much,
yeah.
and he was one of them.
And so I'm just trying to... In 1996, it was like... It would have been a dip in his popularity, but I feel like he would have still been fucking massive. Like, so well known. So a $200,000 budget just sounds mental. I would have thought he wouldn't have got out of bed himself for less than
sure that's
200,000.
what it was. It wasn't a particularly like huge... Oh no, that's what it earned.
Oh right, okay. I think it was probably more than...
It may have cost more to make. I don't know how much it cost to make, but that's what it earned.
The weird thing about it is that I would think that he was quite expensive, and I suppose maybe you could argue that they blew all the budget on him and just thought his name would sell the
Carry
film.
it, yeah.
And so therefore they didn't have to put in
maybe.
anything extra. But like just shit like the opening credits are so shit. I mean, they look like someone's made a joke. When Santa with muscles comes up on the screen, it looks like someone's made it on like a really bad 1996 version of Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, it doesn't look proper. And that weird girl talking every like, "Hi Santa, please come and see me. We're in an orphanage." I mean, it is awful. I mean, that girl, I mean, we should probably talk about her. She sings a song at some point, Angel Baby, which I think is like a
Do you know what?
bit of a like crooner.
Should we just listen to it? Because
Yeah.
it's one of the most horrible things in the film. So all of the children in this film are fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And at one
Well,
point,
Mila Kunis isn't.
I mean, she is, but
Yeah, true.
at one point, Hulk Hogan walks into a church where a small child,
Is
who's one of the
singing.
grottiest little children you'll ever see, is singing this song, and he sits down next to her and joins in. So let's have just a quick listen to that.
Let's do it.
Let's try that song again.
Do you know it?
Start me off.
I'll always remember the time I spent with you. November, December, April, May, and June. You are my angel baby. You're so fine, angel baby. Mine for all time, all time.
So that is just fucking
That's
disgusting.
fucking grim. It's just like when he comes in, he's like, "Oh, I know this song," and you're like, she's like, "I know it's not really appropriate for here," and I'm like, "It's not appropriate for a child to be singing Angel Baby or whatever the fuck you were singing."
That is very weird.
It's pretty fucking disgusting.
So what are your least favourite things about this? I won't ask for your favourites because I know there aren't any.
In fairness, there were loads of like really misjudged, horrendous quotes in this that I think are trying to be like, I don't know, trying to be out there, but they're just like poo-pooing on like any kind of societal change at that time. For example, there's a time where they go to the orphanage and it's run by a woman. And the woman's like, "Hey, yeah, no, I run this place. My name's Leslie, la, la, la." And then the man turns up and goes, "She may say she runs it, but it's me that does all the work." And I'm like, cool. So things are real, like, pro-women at this point in the world.
I mean, I think you've read into that quite
I mean,
a lot. Only
no,
in
I
as
know,
much
but
as
it's just
I
like,
think that,
she may think she runs this place, but I do all the hard work. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, keeping in mind that there's just been a scene where that same man was standing in the middle of the road for no reason.
Yeah.
Someone was driving a truck at him at apparently like 100 miles an hour, and Hulk Hogan grabbed hold of the truck
By a chain.
and just holds it so it doesn't hit him.
But then let's go of it and they get away, and he's like, "Oh goddamn, they got away!" And I'm like, "Why'd you let go, you fucking idiot?" There's a bit where, and this is probably the most wonderful line, and I do think it's beautiful, where there's an evil doctor who's talking to the main woman from the home, and he's trying to like seduce her while the children are in the background sneaking around and trying to cause him some mischief. And he goes, "Oh, Leslie, you certainly are a different person when you're away from those little homeless losers," which is the orphans. And I'm like, oh my lord.
I mean, the use of orphans in inverted commas.
Well, there's
in this
only
film,
3 of
there's
them in this home.
It's very confusing about that, but I just more mean like everything is an exact like attempt to just sort of, without any subtlety, just grab at your heartstrings. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, right, we need to have some kids in this one because it's a kid film. Let's make them orphans.
Yeah.
Right, we need to, we need a sort of goodie in this film. Let's find the biggest, muscliest man that we can.
There's loads of nonsense. There's a bit where they're looking for Santa Claus in the first instance in the mall. And they go, "Any word on Mr. Claus?" And go, "No, I got a midget in a clown suit." That's not okay.
But they never follow through with that.
They do never.
You
follow
never
through. You were
get
like,
a midget in a clown suit.
"You're on the edge of your seat." I love it. "You're going to get a lump of coal for Christmas." And Hulk Hogan goes, "How about 2 lumps?" And then starts punching this child in the face. So that's weird.
I don't remember him punching.
It's the youth.
face.
He's not a child. That teenager in the shopping centre.
Do you mean the punks?
The punks.
They're not teenagers. They're like 40-year-old men. First of all, but that's one of the. They do just 2 punks turn up. One of them's wearing a Dare shirt.
Yeah.
And one of them's wearing a sort of generic shirt that just says Anarchy on it.
It was his Anarchy
But it doesn't
something.
even. It says something like
bad.
Anarchy International or something.
Bad.
And they're sort of punks, and they just get beaten up because they're trying to steal charity money. I mean, again, it's that thing of like, right, what can we want some bad guys that aren't really going to have a part.
Yeah.
What's the most obvious thing we can get them to do that's like the
charity.
worst possible thing?
How about you? What did you think of this lovely film? Favourite
I think
words
Hulk
bits?
Hogan, for someone who presumably had quite a lot of charisma to have become as big of a star as he doesn't have any charisma by 1996. I don't really know what's happened with him. His line delivery is a little bit like he's never spoken words before and he's hearing them all for the first time. It's really weird. Like, I wonder if it's just that he hadn't learned the script and so he was getting fed the lines and then just having to say them immediately and not having any context for them. But to be in fairness, it's not just him. Most people in this film provide the lines a little bit like that, really.
But because Hulk Hogan, like, the one thing about him was the reason he was a good wrestler is not just because he was muscly and tanned and like looked like one, but like he was a good talker. And I've seen him talk, and I've never thought he sounded stilted or ridiculous. Like, for all the shit that wrestlers do in their like promos, I never thought his was like the most rehearsed or the most ridiculous. I always thought his was pretty authentically ridiculous. But this was the first time I've ever seen him like outrightly look like he had no idea what he was about to say.
But I suppose his promos in wrestling, as I remember, I mean, none of them were very nuanced. They were all just sort of like, I'm going to beat you up!
Yeah,
you know, like,
true.
So I don't necessarily... I suppose it is playing a different role, like playing the lead good guy in a children's movie. I suppose he wasn't playing himself as such.
He also, and this isn't me trying to like say, oh, he hasn't done many, but like, was this his first?
No,
he's done a few films.
Yeah, he's done a bunch.
But
no,
has he done
Suburban
them before
Commando
this?
was definitely before that.
Oh, okay. So,
And No Holds Barred.
Oh,
that
was
was
that all
made
before
at
this?
like the height of his
oh,
fame.
then fair enough. Then no excuse. Hulk
So
should
no,
have
I mean,
been
although
there.
he's really bad in No Holds Barred, but
yeah.
then that was definitely his first time of like trying to act or anything. But yeah, so he's really dreadful in it. But I don't know. I mean, everything. There is something about this film which is completely fitting in. You know what we were talking about with Gremlins?
Yeah.
I'm not comparing the two in any way, but there is something about this film where nothing. It does try and do the same thing, where there is absolutely no interest in reality with this film whatsoever.
But that allows this film to get away with a bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably
in
right.
being shit.
If I described certain things in this film,
Yeah.
I think I would think to myself, oh, I'd probably quite like that. So, like, for example, the bad guy, who is played by Ed Begley Jr., who's fucking amazing. He's like a character actor who probably, if you saw a picture of him, you'd know who he was, but he's fucking great as part. Is almost the same part as this, except way better, in a film called Get Crazy, which is really cool, and we'll probably do on the podcast at some point. He's brilliant, but he gets this like trio of sort of just generic baddies.
They're scientists.
Who but they're all scientists, and like one of them's called the Canadian Chemist. I'm not quite sure, but then what he does is he's just got like fart powder.
He gets methane gas that he sprays into people.
But it's not called methane gas. It's called something like smelly gas.
They
or
call it
something.
methane gas at the beginning, but then I think later on it's just like, yeah, he smells bad.
He's one of the first scenes that he has. They've got this guy turned upside down, like hanging from his feet, and they're sort of torturing him and trying to get him. And Ed Begley Jr. doesn't leave his house, so he talks to everybody through a TV. Which again, I
Which
kind
has
of like.
no camera or microphone.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. But the idea of that to me is quite cool. But the Canadian Chemist, although he's like a specialist in fart powder, he's basically just smacking this man on the bottom, trying to get telling him to do whatever it is that they're trying to say. There's a doctor who's just like a medical doctor with a lab coat on, and he is really good at kung fu. But while he's doing kung fu, he's got his dictaphone on and he's reading into the dictaphone, saying like, you know, patient's face really hurts, and then he kicks him in the face, and then like so things like that. Like the idea of them sounds pretty good, but they're just done so badly.
It's done
that I can't really get anything out of them whatsoever. Brutus the Barber Beefcake shows up in the part of Sumo Lab Assistant.
Sumo Lab Assistant.
And I saw that was his character's name in this, and I thought, what on earth is that going to look like? And it really is just he's got a lab coat on. And they've sort of given him a somewhat racist sumo wrestler-ish beard, I guess.
And hair. He's got that little ponytail.
Yeah. But he's just Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who is another 80s wrestler who's like Hulk Hogan's best mate and famously only ever got jobs because Hulk Hogan got him jobs.
And how Hulk Hogan got this job is beyond us. Who knows?
Well, he got it because he was the biggest thing in it.
Yeah.
There's one really strange bit where Hulk Hogan says to the woman, like they're going to go and do the washing up.
What?
And she says to him, I'll wash you dry. Like,
oh, yeah.
I'll wash the plates, you dry the plates.
Yeah.
But when she says it, she completely removes a comma. So it just says, I'll wash you dry. She just goes, I'll wash you dry. And it's really weird. It was because there's kids around and stuff. It's a really strange...
I'll wash you
dry. It's a really
dry.
strange bit. There's a good bit where he's being Santa in the mall and a kid sits on his lap, and the idea is that obviously he's got no idea how to be Santa because he's a bit confused. And so he's trying to suggest different presents for the child, and he says golf ball, pocket knife, electric razor, and it's just like a little girl. So I really like that.
They were.
I mean, when I say really like it, I hated this film.
Well, would you like to hear what Scott the Foy Wonder Foy thinks of this film?
God. Yeah, go on.
He sounds like a cunt, doesn't he? Jesus Christ, you would pretty much have to be anally violated with a garden weasel or be given a colonoscopy by Edward Scissorhands to come up with something more painful than experiencing this abomination. Harsh, but almost very fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to
I'm not going to defend it. Yeah, I mean, it is a horrendous movie to have watched.
One very last point that I think is weird about this film is that, I mean, there's a lot of weird things about this. The orphanage that he goes to, which is obviously like he's trying to save, and like that's the whole reason of the story.
Yeah.
There's only 3 kids in this orphanage, and they say at the start, all the other ones have already been rehomed.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of that is it's like a really good orphanage, and so he deserves, he
Also,
deserves
it's the
to be
excuse.
saved.
I think it's a story writing arc for why there's no child actors in the room.
You would think that, except that by the end of the film, so the orphanage gets blown up, and everyone saves the day, and then they all move into this massive mansion. And then the last scene is like, they show the orphanage, and there's just hundreds of kids, and it's as if all of these children have lost their... It's not funny. All of these children have just lost their parents overnight. And this orphanage has gone from... They only need 3 beds to now they've got fucking hundreds of kids without parents. And it's like... It's as if it's a celebration and they're all laughing and they're all doing proper, like, that He-Man thing at the end of He-Man where he sort of says, like, hey, kids, look after the environment. And if you don't, you're going to sink in mud. And then they all, like, laugh and hold the laugh. They do like 5 of them at the end of this film where Hulk Hogan's just saying different things and then they all laugh really unbelievably. It's very strange. It
is fucking
weird.
But
yeah, so this film makes loads of children orphans. That's how bad it
loads
is.
of orphans.
What score are you going to give it?
Oh, well, it's a 2.6 on IMDb. And in fairness...
That's very generous.
It is very generous, but it's more... I found that film easier to watch than some films we've watched that I've rated. I can't remember what I rated Neil Breen. I definitely don't know what I rated Dick Shark.
Both are better than this, I think.
I think this is a 2.
All right.
I'm going 2 out of 10 because, annoyingly, I watched it and I didn't waver from watching it. Like, it was actually... It almost held my attention the entire time, which is weird. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. It wasn't the worst.
I'm going to give it a 3, but only because, I'm giving the film a 1 and I'm giving Ed Begley Jr. a 2 just on his own. Not because he's particularly good in this, just because I love him a lot.
So fair enough.
So we're going to do a song from the 90s.
Woo woo.
I'm going to go back to what I was talking about before about Leeds being our favourite city.
Yeah!
Because in the 90s there were so many amazing bands that came out of Leeds. A lot of pop punk stuff that was really cool, but also a lot of like late 90s emo stuff that came out. This is some of that. It's a band called Tribute. They were not really a full-time like band, really. They only released a few songs here and there, but they were mostly members of a band called Bob Tilton, who were also fucking brilliant.
Bob Tilton?
Yeah.
That's a great name of a band.
Yeah, and they're much more remembered. I think a lot of people will know of Bob Tilton. But this was like their sort of a side project with basically, I think, just a different singer, and maybe there was a couple of different people, I'm not sure. This is from a split, which is one of my favourite 7 inches of all time. Which is a split with them and a band called Beacon. And the Beacon songs on there are really good as well. It came out on a record label called Spread Records that I used to buy loads of records from. They actually themselves only released a few things, but they used to do an amazing distro that I used to buy shitloads of stuff from. And this is just such a fucking amazing song. Such a beautiful song. It's not very Christmassy. It's quite sad. I don't really care. This is Tribute with Hitherto.
We've come to the end of our festive edition of Breakfast Punx. Thanks for sitting in with us on this kind of drunk sausage roll, wine-fueled nonsense that we've brought to you this week.
I hope you've all also been drinking and therefore are, by the time we got to...
somewhat enjoying this. Dave's got the wine giggles, so we're going well. I hope you've enjoyed some of this, all of this, or I don't know. I hope you go and watch Santa with Muscles at the very... Oh, dear. I hope you've had a nice time. Please follow us on David's got the wine out. He said I was drunk, but look at him. Look at him playing with that laptop.
Oh.
Do follow us on Instagram, Breakfast Punx Podcast. Do follow us on the YouTube, whatever we're called on that, Breakfast Punx or Breakfast Punx Podcast on the YouTubes.
This is the end of our first year. We've done a full year of podcasting.
This is a full year now, isn't it? Our next episode will be an anniversary.
It will. And on that, we're going to do almost exactly what we did last time, I think. We're going to review
The
year.
As best we can. I mean, we thought we'd have more to talk about, but it turns out we're in various lockdowns all of this year as well.
Well, fuck, we might actually be in a lockdown by then as well, mightn't we?
Yeah.
It's
circuit
looking rather likely that we're all going to be going back into lockdown again. So last time, because more or less that exact thing had happened, we tried to do a podcast about all the positive things that had happened in the year before. So we're going to attempt to do the same for this year.
Yeah, I think we fucking will, and we'll succeed. I'm sure there's tons of nice things to talk about.
I have no doubt.
I can't wait to find out about them.
But I do hope that everybody out there has a lovely Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas all.
I think that this is going to go up online on the day before Christmas Eve, so chances are no one's listening to it before Christmas. So I hope you had a nice Christmas. Happy Boxing Day.
Merry New Year.
I hope you ate loads and loads of crisps, loads of roast potatoes. Drank loads of nice, whatever your favourite drink is. I hope you didn't have any nog, because I don't know what people are doing with this nog business now.
Grog, fair.
Grog,
nog,
fine,
no.
nog. Don't have any creamy alcohols.
No. Advocaat, have you heard of that? Is that what I think I might know what is in nog.
I haven't drunk a creamy alcohol since I was
16, thrown up a man on the bus.
Yeah. Once a bottle of Baileys comes back up the other way. I smoked crack in the park and then drank a bottle of Baileys. And then
your mum's not listening to this.
And then it all we're in the later stages. No one's listening to this. And then I vomited on the 61 bus on the way home, and I think it hit an old man, but I'm not sure because I'd smoked loads of crack, so I didn't really know. Oh,
16-year-old David was a nightmare. He's much more subtle now with his red wine and vegan sausage rolls. Just throws up on the cat. Oh, well,
I have never thrown up on the cat.
In fairness, you have never thrown up on the cat. Apologies. I really All right. Well...
Oh, it's doing it again. I didn't want it to.
Well, to end, and a sneak preview into next week's episode, I guess, one of my favourite things that I found in 2021, and they've existed long before this, is the band Cheekface.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who we're going to end with this episode.
Well, for a very special reason.
Yeah. Well, two reasons. We played them early in our podcast history. I can't remember what episode. And they're very good. And then recently, they have released some Christmas versions of their songs. And I say it as if they've really done an awful lot to their songs. But and I'm sure they won't mind me saying, I think they've just put some Christmas bells over the top of two of their songs.
They definitely have.
And they've sped up one of them so they sound like the Chipmunks.
The Chipmunks?
The Chipmunks.
That's a Riot Girl band.
Oh my god, the Chipmunks.
That's fucking good, isn't it?
I'm on it. So they had an album called Emphatically No, and for Christmas they've done 3 songs and named it Emphatically Noel. It's on Bandcamp, and it's only on Bandcamp until the 26th of December, so you may have already missed it if you're listening to this late. But you're not going to miss this one, because we're playing Crying Back, the Christmas edition, on this podcast now for you. So...
Is that how we're finishing?
No, that's not how we're finishing.
Oh, you got more.
So that's goodbye from us.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. This is Cheekface Crying Back.
Stuttering more lately, saying stuff. Living here sucks if you're made out of dandruff. Weeds have overtaken the yard of my mind. What is a stalker but a friend that you don't like? I'm bringing crying back. Crying's the new black. Crying on my snacks. Drop the buttered bread. The buttered side down. I'm sure it's nothing
pause. Suck my balls.
I don't know what the next line is. There's no good you pointing at me.
No, it was then you say, hello and welcome to Breakfast Punx.